Chapter 27. Seeing that you're covered in rust. I didn't expect you to be so sharp, Sima Yue said. She wanted to retract her hand, but found that her hand could not leave Ling Long's body. The situation was exactly the same as Little Spirit's last time. She felt as if all the blood in her body had been sucked dry by Ling Long. Her body became cold, and before she could think about whether she would be sucked dry, she had already fallen to the ground. Yu. Little Roar saw that Sima Yue had fainted and quickly flew over. Don't worry, she just lost a lot of blood. She won't die, Little Spirit said. After Ling Long had sucked enough blood, she fell beside Sima Yue and gave a satisfied burp. Following that, the rust on the dagger fell off, and the entire dagger was so clean that it could be used as a mirror. The edge of the dagger was suffused with a cold light, and one could tell that it was incomparably sharp. Not only that, after the rust had completely fallen off, the dagger instantly became transparent. Little Roar and Little Spirit could only see Sima Yue's blood flowing back and forth inside the dagger, staining every part of the dagger with traces of blood. At the same time, a ray of red light shot up to the sky, almost illuminating the entire interior of the Spirit Pearl in red. Luckily, this was inside the Spirit Pearl. If it was outside, this movement would definitely attract a lot of trouble. Little Spirit and Little Roar were blinded by the dazzling red light. When the red light dissipated, they opened their eyes and saw a little doll sitting on Sima Yue's body, smiling happily. The little doll's voice was very soft, as if it was a newborn doll. Little doll? Little Roar and Little Spirit were stunned. Ew, how can you be a little doll? Little Spirit pointed at Ling Long. And you're a girl? Although Ling Long had stayed in the Spirit Pearl for tens of millions of years, she had always had the appearance of a dagger. He never thought that Ling Long would actually be a little doll. Why can't I become a little doll? Aren't you a little doll yourself? Oomph. Ling Long turned her back to Little Spirit and looked at Sima Yue's pale face, asking, when will Master wake up? Cute girl. Little Roar flew in front of Ling Long and said, Little sister Ling Long, don't worry. You will wake up soon. Sister, your sister. Ling Long stood up and stepped on Little Roar's face, saying, when Big Sister was formed, you didn't even know which corner of the world you were in yet to reincarnate. How dare you call me Little Sister? If you want to call me that, you have to call me Sister Lingling. Little Roar felt as if his face was about to be stomped into a meat patty. He extended his little paw and slapped Ling Long's leg away, saying in a fawning manner, Does Sister Ling Long's leg hurt? Do you want me to blow on it for you? With your soft skin and tender flesh, can you hurt me? Ling Long was very happy to be called Big Sister Ling Long. This little critter was quite cute. She then flew back to Sima Yue and sat down. She supported her chin with her hands and looked at the unconscious Sima Yue worriedly. Little Roar could tell that this Ling Long definitely had a fiery temper. If she didn't like someone, she would definitely shout and kill. It was no wonder that people like Little Spirit could not stand her and quarrel with her for so many years. However, she seemed to like Sima Yue very much, even before they had recognized her as their master. But why? Not only Little Roar could not figure it out, even Little Spirit could not figure it out. He and Ling Long had been together for so many years. He saw her go out again and again to find her master. Every time, she returned disappointed. In the end, she was too lazy to go out and find her master and just stayed in the Spirit Pearl. Why would a person who is so picky with her master like Sima Yue, who had just become a spiritual knight, so much? Little Spirit unknowingly asked his own doubts. Ling Long smiled and said, Because she understands me. But for an offensive divine weapon like you, don't you like strong people? She has just started cultivating. Little Spirit said, She will become strong. Ling Long said with certainty. After she finished speaking, she stretched out her short little hand and lightly poked Sima Yue's face. Sima Yue once again saw a scene that she had not seen for a long time. A thick fire burned a luxurious mansion into ashes. This was not her apartment on Earth, but an ancient building. On the main door hung a signboard that said, Shiman Residence. The flames quickly spread, and the magnificent signboard was engulfed in an instant. Seeing the entire mansion engulfed in flames, Sima Yuyue's heart felt as if it was pierced by countless sharp blades. A figure appeared from the flames and laughed towards her. Sima Yuyue, look at your home. It has all become a pile of ashes. Ha, what qualifications do you have to fight with me now? Sima Yue could not see her face clearly, but she remembered that voice. That voice was incomparably sharp and pierced her heart. Why? Why did she have such a dream again? Was this the past life that little Roar said she had forgotten? But she remembered that in her past life on Earth, she was blown up by the organization's second in command. Could it be that she died on Earth and transmigrated to this world and lived another life? She became Shimin Yuyue and took in Little Roar. In the end, her family was exterminated and she was killed. She did not know why, but in her second transmigration, she became this love-struck, trash young lady. And just like what Little Roar said, her soul was injured before she died, so she forgot the memories of this life. And Little Roar was the direct evidence that she had forgotten her memories and not a hallucination. Yue, if you can live on, you must not take revenge for us. Living a good life is what we want to see the most. A warm voice sounded from the sea of flames, but hearing this voice, Sima Yuyue's heart hurt even more. She could not help but call out, "Mother!" The word mother made her dry eyes wet and tears fell down uncontrollably. She seemed to see a beautiful face gently pressed against her face. She smiled and said, "Look, this is our daughter. She looks so much like you, just like the moon in the sky." "Then we'll call her Yue," a male voice replied. "Okay, girl, for now on you'll be called Shimin Yue. I'm your mother, so you must call me mother first." Sima Yue stretched out her hand, wanting to touch that beautiful face, but before she could touch her, the figure disappeared in the flames. "Mother!" Ling Long sat on Sima Yuyue's chest. Seeing the tears at the corner of her eyes, she said with heartache, "Why is little Yue crying? Little Yue is so sad. Her heart is hurting." Ling Long also wants to cry, sob sob. Little Roar and Little Spirit also felt the pain in Sima Yuyue's heart. Little Spirit did not know why, but Little Roar guessed that she must have seen some memories of her past life. "Little Yue, don't cry. We're here with you." Ling Long crawled to Sima Yuyue's head and wiped away the tears at the corner of her eyes. Chapter 28. Sima Yue wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes and turned her head to look at the little doll beside her. She asked hesitantly, "Ling Long, huh, little you recognized me." Ling Long clapped her hands and said, "How did you become a little doll? And so small?" Sima Yue sat up and held Ling Long in her hands. She realized that she was only the size of 2 fists. "I'm a weapon spirit, just like Little Spirit. Of course, I can transform into a human." Ling Long giggled and said, "But I'm stronger than that fellow. I can transform with my body, but he can't. He can only stay in the spirit pearl. So from this point, I'm the supreme artifact." "All right, both of you are very strong." Sima Yue saw that Little Spirit was about to explode and quickly comforted him. "All right, little Yu, what did you dream of just now? Let's hurry up. You're so heartbroken." "I'm also heartbroken," Ling Long asked. "Nothing much, just some memories from the past." Sima Yue said, "Maybe it's because I can cultivate now, so my memories are slowly awakening." Seeing that Sima Yue didn't want to talk about it, everyone didn't ask. Sima Yue got up and saw that she was still at the place where she fainted. The corner of her mouth twitched and said, "Can't you guys let me lie on the bed or something? At least that would be more comfortable." "I'm too lazy to change places," Little Spirit said confidently. His body flashed and disappeared. "I'm also too lazy to argue with you. Otherwise, I'll really be angered to death." Sima Yue didn't look at Little Spirit. She looked at Ling Long in her hands and asked, "What weapons can you transform into now?" "I don't know either." Ling Long shook her head and said, "Then let's try." Sima Yue said, "All right." After speaking, Ling Long transformed into a dagger and said, "Master, let's begin." Sima Yue thought of a few weapons in her mind. Other than the first sword, she didn't succeed in the others. After a while, Sima Yue looked at the pot in front of her helplessly and chose to give up. Little Spirit, who had disappeared for a while, came out. We saw the pot in Sima Yuyue's hands. He held his stomach and laughed. "Haha, what kind of divine weapon is this? Are you planning to turn into a pot and cook for us all?" It was an accident. After saying that, Exquisite left Sima Yuyue's hand and flew into the air, spinning rapidly. When it stopped, the pot was gone and a spatula appeared in front of everyone. Sima Yuyue's initial anticipation slowly turned into disappointment. When she saw the shovel, she was already in despair. It turned out that she had met yet another scammer. He said he was very powerful, but the end result was too beautiful. She couldn't bear to look at it. Seeing Sima Yuyue's expression, Exquisite turned into a dagger and said, "Little Ye, don't be disappointed. Although I can transform into a lot of weapons, they are all related to your current strength. The stronger you are, the more powerful the weapons I can transform into." In other words, with her current strength, she could only transform into pots and pans. Sima Yue felt the disappointment in Exquisite's words and took it over, saying, "I will turn you into a very powerful weapon. Anyway, I don't need any weapons now. When my strength increases, we will become stronger together." I believe in you, little Yeye," Exquisite said with certainty. "Me too. I want to become stronger together." Little Roar came over and said. Exquisite turned into a little doll and kicked Little Roar's face again, roaring, "Little Yeye and I are encouraging each other. What are you doing here?" Sima Yue looked at Exquisite, who had turned into a fiery girl in an instant and couldn't tell which one was her. When she came out of the Spirit Pearl, it was already sunset. Luckily, there were no classes in the afternoon, otherwise she would have been caught by Feng Zhixing. Thinking of Feng Zhixing, she thought of Little Spirit's reminder. Did he really know that she could cultivate? But why didn't he expose her in front of everyone? He clearly knew that she was trash, but he was still willing to accept her into the class. Was it really because of the principal and her grandfather? If he had any ulterior motives towards her, she didn't feel any malice from him. It wasn't that he hid it deeply, but she was naturally sensitive to people. She had a keen sense of malice and kindness. This was something she had never missed before. Because of this, there were a few times when she was carrying out missions with the people from the organization, and she was able to survive their betrayal. Therefore, she could feel that Feng Zhixing didn't have any malice towards her. At this moment, in the principal's office, Feng Zhixing, who had just returned from outside, was called over. "Do you know what happened to the students in your class?" The old principal looked at Feng Zhixing and asked, "Are you talking about the challenge stage?" "I heard about it." Feng Zhixing calmly replied. "What do you think?" The old principal asked. "Nothing much, as long as they don't kill anyone. Anything is fine." Feng Zhixing leaned on the chair and played with his fingernails, saying, "Besides, life and death on the challenge stage is their own responsibility. If something really happens, the two families won't be able to find me." The old principal was almost choked by Feng Zhixing's words, saying, "I'm asking about Sima Yuyue's victory over Meng Ting." "So what if she won?" Feng Zhixing said, "There's nothing strange about it. Meng Ting is practicing at home behind closed doors. This Sima Yue is said to often fight with people in the capital. She probably won using her combat experience." When the old principal heard that Sima Yue had won against Meng Ting, he thought that she might be able to cultivate. Otherwise, why would this arrogant guy be willing to accept a good-for-nothing? But now, listening to his words wasn't unreasonable. After all, during the competition, Sima Yue didn't use any spiritual power. Feng Zhixing saw the old principal's eyes darting around and guessed what he was thinking, but he didn't intend to say anything. "Is there anything else?" "If there's nothing else, I'll go back first. Tomorrow, I'll take them to choose some beast eggs, so I have to go back and prepare. And choosing beast eggs is a very important matter for students, so you have to prepare well." "Have all the beast eggs been replenished?" the old principal asked. "They've all arrived today. I think they've already been sent in." Feng Zhixing replied. "Then you can go and prepare." The old principal said, "Remember to be careful. Don't let them enter that dead egg's house. Otherwise, you'll waste your chance. Since it's a dead egg, why don't you clear it out?" Feng Zhixing asked, puzzled. It's been passed down since a long time ago. The school's rule is not to touch that egg. As for why, I don't know. But there were a few times in the past when students entered that house and came out unconscious. So I think that even though it's a dead egg, there must be something special about it. That's why it was passed down. I understand. Feng Zhixing finished speaking and left. At night, when He Qiuji was walking on campus, a figure blocked her way. Are you going to choose some eggs tomorrow? The person asked. Yes. He Qiuji replied. Very good. Help me with something, and I'll give you a good reward. The person said. What is it? Tell me first. Help me get rid of Sima Yue. The person said. Meng Ting has the support of the Meng family. What kind of power do you have to protect her? If she finds out that you instigated Meng Ting to challenge her, then. Chapter 29. Fatty Chu did not need to shout as he smelled the aroma and ran over. Not long after, Wei Ziqi also ran over. Go and see if Bei Gong Tang and Ouyang Fei are here. If they are, invite them over. Sima Yue instructed Fatty Chu as she cooked. Okay. Fatty Chu sneaked a bite of the dish before leaving. Wei Ziqi originally thought that Bei Gong Tang and Ouyang Fei were not in the house. Even if they were, they would not come over. He did not expect that the two of them would come. The two of you actually came over. How rare. Bei Gong Tang glanced at Wei Ziqi and did not say anything. She washed her hands and sat at the table. Ouyang Fei replied to Wei Ziqi. Fatty Chu said that the food she made was better than the ones in the canteen. Sima Yue placed the dishes on the table. Little Roar had already finished eating and had gone outside to digest. We are all from the same courtyard, so we should spend more time together. It's better to eat together like this. Fatty Chu said. Do you know how to cook? Bei Gong Tang asked coldly. I don't. Fatty Chu said and smiled. Don't we have you in now? Sima Yue rolled her eyes at Fatty Chu, but did not object. We're going to choose a beast egg tomorrow. Ouyang Fei suddenly said. Choose a beast egg? What's that? Sima Yue asked, as it was the first time she heard of this. You know that spirit masters can contract spirit beasts, right? Fatty Chu said. Sima Yue nodded. Generally speaking, a spirit master can only contract a limited number of spirit beasts. The stronger they are, the more spirit beasts they can contract. For spirit masters like us, we can only contract one spirit beast. However, if it's a beast egg, it's different. Wei Ziqi explained, some students do not have good family backgrounds and did not have spirit beasts before. When they choose a beast egg, they can choose their own spirit beasts. If they have spirit beasts before, because it's a beast egg, it won't consume too much energy, so they can contract it. Sima Yue nodded her head in understanding, saying, It's the Academy's spirit beasts that are given to students. You can say that. However, there is still a need to pay attention to this beast egg selection. Ouyang Fei said. So particular? There are high and low-grade spirit beast eggs inside. Although there aren't many high-grade spirit beast eggs, if we can find them, the spirit beast that comes out in the future will be even more powerful. Sima Yue bit her chopsticks and said, Why are they all beast eggs? What about the mammals? Mammals are also locked in eggs, but those eggs are illusory. Wei Ziqi said, I've heard that the place where the eggs are kept is very mystical. No matter what kind of animal it is, in your eyes, it's just an egg. Furthermore, all the eggs look the same. When you choose the egg, if it's a mammal, the egg will disappear. That should be an illusion, right? Sima Yue said, Why are you hallucinating? All the spirit beasts in front of you have turned into eggs. When Bei Gong Tang heard Sima Yue's words, she raised her head and looked at her. No matter what, tomorrow is a day worth looking forward to. Fatty Chu said, You all should have your own contracted spirit beasts, right? What are you looking forward to? Sima Yue said, That's not the same. I've heard that there are spirit beast eggs with the blood of divine beasts. If we can get those spirit beasts, we'll be powerful in the future. Ha ha. Fatty Chu said proudly, You can keep daydreaming. Sima Yue said, However, even if we can't get a spirit beast with the blood of divine beasts, as long as it's chosen by the Academy, it'll be rare or powerful. Wei Ziqi said, Is that so? Then I'm really looking forward to it. The next day, Bei Gong Tang and Ouyang Fei also joined the breakfast team. Luckily, Little Spirit had already prepared everything, so she only needed to do the cooking. After breakfast, they went to the classroom. Once Sima Yue entered the classroom, she felt all kinds of gazes. Some were filled with disdain, some were surprised, some were curious, and some were angry. It seemed that the matter of her winning against Meng Ting yesterday had caused quite a stir in the class. Although Meng Ting was still angry when she saw her, she was willing to accept her loss. She did not intend to find trouble with her, and could only stare daggers at her. Sima Yue and Bei Gong Tang sat down at the back of the classroom and ignored those people. It was just that Bei Gong Tang was cold, and Sima Yue was too lazy to care. Very quickly, Feng Zhixing came to the classroom. Seeing that everyone was present, he said, "You all should know what we are going to do today. Before we go, I'll tell you what you need to pay attention to. The place to choose the spirit beast eggs is at the back mountain of the academy. There are 4 doors there, and you can enter 3 of them. After you enter, you will see illusions, and many spirit beast eggs will appear. Every spirit beast egg has the same appearance, so you can only follow your feelings and choose the one you want the most. Once you choose, you will come out from there. Now follow me to choose the spirit beast eggs." Everyone in the classroom stood up and left. Ichio Ji glared at Sima Yue when she walked past her. When she saw that Sima Yue turn around, Ichio Ji quickly retracted her gaze and walked away as if nothing had happened. Feng Zhixing brought them to the back mountain of the academy. When they arrived, the people from the other classes were already waiting there, and a few teachers were chatting together. Sima Yue noticed that when the teachers looked at Feng Zhixing, there was a hint of respect in their eyes. "Is everyone here?" Feng Zhixing walked over and asked. "Yes, everyone else is here. Your class is the last to arrive," a teacher said. "Then let's go in." Feng Zhixing ignored the sarcasm in the teacher's words and said, "This time, there were not many spirit masters in the academy. There were only about 1,000 people. Excluding the special classes, which are the alchemists and beast tamers, there were about 900 people like them in the normal classes. Because the cave was relatively small and could only accommodate 300 to 400 people, they divided the students into 3 groups to enter. When the students found out, they all expressed that it was unfair. If the people who entered first chose the high-level spirit beast, then the people who entered later would not be able to get it. Everyone, please calm down." A teacher waved his hand to signal for everyone to be quiet and said, "The spirit beast eggs inside are all random, so the probability of entering first is the same. You don't have to feel that it is unfair." All right, the first batch. According to the order of arrival, they had already divided the students into 3 groups. Feng Zhixing's group was the last to enter, so they were the last to enter. When Sima Yu came to the back of the mountain, she had a feeling that something was calling out to her, knocking into her heart one by one. That voice seemed to be saying, "Come here, come here." She looked around and did not find anything strange. When she listened carefully, the voice disappeared. Chapter 30. Sima Yue had seen her family's library before, so she was not surprised. However, it was the first time for the people around her to see such a scene, so they were all shocked. She looked around the entire cave, but she did not see any so-called door. She only saw 3 white halos on the ground that were emitting a faint white light. "All right, everyone be quiet," a teacher said loudly. The echo of his voice reverberated in the cave, and everyone quietened down. "Teacher, we don't see any door," a student said. "The 3 teleportation portals in front of you are the doors. After you enter, they will bring you to the house where the eggs are kept. Remember, once you choose one of the eggs, you will be ejected. There is no second chance, so you must grasp the opportunity well. Don't act recklessly. You must choose the one that you are most sensitive to." Another teacher said, "Yes, you can only go to the 3 portals in front of you. You cannot go to the 4th one. If you go to the 4th portal and something happens, you will have to bear the consequences." The first teacher said, "Teacher, are all portals the same?" "They are all the same. This is a random portal, so the probability of being teleported to that place is the same. All right, go ahead. Don't push." Once the teacher said that, Everyone rushed towards the portal. Although the teacher said that the probability was the same, they still felt that the probability of being the first to enter was different. Some of the students disappeared after entering the portal. When the others saw this, they rushed over even more crazily. Sima Yue was forced to move forward in the crowd and was pushed to the innermost part. The innermost portal was the one that the teachers had emphasized not to go to. Everyone thought that there were no eggs inside, so they did not go there. That portal was not activated, but Sima Yue looked at it. In the chaos, she seemed to see two flashes of light from the portal. Come, come. Sima Yue heard the call again and was stunned for a moment. At this moment, someone pushed her from behind, and she stood on the fourth teleportation array. At this moment, the portal emitted a dazzling red light. She turned around in shock and saw Hichioji's eyes and face filled with hatred. You? Before she could say another word, she disappeared into the teleportation array. The teachers who were watching the students fight at the entrance panicked when they saw the red light. They shouted, "Who went to the fourth teleportation array just now?" Only half of the students were left in the cave. They looked at each other, wondering what had happened to the teachers. "Teacher, I think it's Class A's Sima Yue." Someone said, "Sima Yue? I got it. Please continue." That teacher said, since it was that trash, there was nothing to worry about. In order to prevent such a thing from happening again, the students immediately quieted down. They entered the teleportation circle in an orderly manner and disappeared from the cave. Feng Zhixing had been outside the cave the whole time. When he saw the red light flashing inside, he knew that it was the light of the fourth transmission array. He suddenly had a bad feeling. He came to the entrance of the cave and asked, "Who just entered the fourth teleportation formation?" "It's your class's Sima Yue." A teacher said, "She must have been accidentally squeezed in when it was crowded." "What?" Feng Zhixing's heart skipped a beat. "Isn't that? Teacher Feng, once a student is teleported in, they won't come out until they find the beast egg. There's no use panicking now." "That's right. Although the school has never opened the fourth teleportation formation, there shouldn't be any problems, right?" "No problems? How could that be?" Yesterday, the old principal had told him that the students who went in before were all delirious. Their meridians were severely damaged, and their cultivation was destroyed. This was called no problems? Actually, what the old principal did not say was that those students did not come out after going in and stayed in there forever. "Teacher Feng, you're a new teacher, so you don't know much about this. We've been here for so many years, so we're very clear about this situation. There shouldn't be any problems." A teacher said, "Those were just rumors. That student won't have any problems. I want to go in too." Feng Zhixing did not listen to the other teacher's comforting words at all. He went straight to the fourth teleportation formation, but no matter how much spirit chi he injected, the teleportation formation did not move at all. It did not have any intention of activating. At this time, most of the students had already gone in. When the teachers saw Feng Zhixing go into the teleportation formation, they were all shocked. But when they saw that the teleportation formation did not react, they relaxed. "Teacher Feng, this teleportation formation is very strange. Not everyone can use it. You should just wait here." Feng Zhixing came out and looked at the teleportation formation for a while. He turned and left the cave, heading straight to the old principal's office. Although this teleportation formation looked similar to the other three, there were still some differences. Perhaps the old principal knew how to go in. But the old principal's answer dashed his hopes. That teleportation formation has been there since the school was founded. At first, it was the school's forbidden area. Later on, we opened the other 3 teleportation formations there and saw the beast egg room. That teleportation formation can only be used by people it recognizes. What's that? I don't know either. The instructions that were passed down from the past did not explain clearly. It is said that there are other things inside other than the dead eggs. That is why the students who go in have those kinds of situations. The old principal said, "Then is there no other way to go in?" Feng Zhixing asked anxiously as he placed his hands on the table. The old principal shook his head helplessly. Feng Zhixing fell back onto the chair. The old principal looked at Feng Ji Xing suspiciously. Since when did this guy have such an anxious look? In his impression, this guy was a cold-blooded and heartless person. I'll go over there and wait. Feng Zhixing calmed himself down and stood up to leave. When he arrived at the back of the mountain, there were already students coming out. They were holding large and small beast eggs in their hands. He looked at the fourth teleportation formation worriedly. Yue, you have to come out safely. After Sima Yue disappeared from the teleportation formation, she felt dizzy. Before she could think, she fell onto the soft ground. Damn you. She got up from the ground. Luckily, there were thick leaves on the ground. Otherwise, she would have fallen like a dog. Damn, you dare to trick me. Don't let me out. Otherwise, I will play you to death. Chapter 31. She walked in front of a bamboo and stretched out her hand to touch it. Her fingertips felt cold, as if she had touched a large ice cube. It's so cold. She felt that her fingers were frozen to the point that she could no longer feel them, so she quickly retracted her hand. She walked around and realized that this forest was extremely big. She had already walked for half an hour, but she was still walking around in circles. What kind of place is this? Didn't they say that this was an illusion? Why do these bamboo rocks feel so real? She sat down on a rock and beat her tired legs. This body is too weak. I've only walked for a short while, and I'm already so tired. This is far worse than my previous life. If I were to fight with others in the future, this would be very disadvantageous. Looks like I still need to train in the future. After resting for a while, she continued to walk around the forest. Not to mention the beast eggs, she didn't even see a living thing. Damn, what kind of place is this? Didn't they say that we can leave if we find the beast eggs? There isn't even an egg here. How am I supposed to find it? Sima Yue kicked the protruding bamboo leaves in front of her. She didn't expect that she would kick something out from under the leaves, and it rolled around twice. A skull. Looking at the thing that had flown in front of her, Sima Yue felt a chill run down her spine. At this moment, she realized that the place she was standing on was somewhat obstructive. She lowered her head to take a look. Because she had used too much strength, the bamboo leaves under her feet had been kicked away. Other than the skull that was kicked away, there were many other bones under her feet. She took 2 steps back and got down from the skeleton. She removed all the leaves and looked at the skeleton in its entirety. There are no scars on the bones. Looks like this person did not encounter any external danger before he died. She looked carefully and thought that she had already walked half around in the forest. She thought to herself, could it be that this person died of starvation or dehydration? Master, this is an array. Little Spirit's voice sounded. Array? I heard that there was an array here that made people see that all the beast eggs were the same. Sima Yue said. You said that it was an illusion array. This array is not an illusion array, but a maze array. Little Spirit said. Maze array? What kind of formation is that? Sima Yue asked. It's a kind of array formation that makes people lose their minds. Little Spirit said. You were also confused by the array formation just now, so you became more and more anxious. You didn't even hear me when I called you several times just now. Did you just call me? Since I didn't hear it before, why am I hearing it now? Is the formation broken? Sima Yue realized that she had indeed become more and more impulsive and was not as calm as she used to be. It just so happens that the bone that you kicked stimulated your nerves, allowing your brain to clear up for a moment. Only then was I able to take advantage of it. Little Spirit said, if this formation is so scary, why would the Academy set up such a formation? Sima Yue asked in confusion. Now is not the time for you to think about this. If you want to go out, you must break this array. Otherwise, you'll have to stay inside forever. Little Spirit roared. Then this person should have been trapped here until his death. Sima Yue said, Little Spirit, since you know about this array, then do you know how to break it? I'm not an array master. How would I know how to break it? Little Spirit said, if you're not an array master, then how do you know that this is a maze array? Sima Yue asked, do all people who know how to eat know how to cook? Little Spirit said disdainfully, even if you haven't eaten pork, you've seen pigs run. You don't know how to break this array, and I don't know either. Then what do we do? Salad. Yu, I know what to do, okay? Little Roar interrupted. Sima Yue called Little Roar out and asked, "What do we do?" You used to have an older brother who was a very powerful array master. I've heard him say that there are two ways to break this array. One is to break it naturally, and the other is to break it backwards. Naturally? Backwards? Yes. Naturally is to know the rules of the array and break it step by step. This way, the array will not be destroyed and the people inside the array will not be hurt. Little Roar said, "This method won't work. None of us know how to break arrays. Tell me the next one." Sima Yue said, "The backwards method is very simple." Little Roar said, "Your older brother once said that every array has an array core. As long as we find the array core and remove it, the array will be broken. This method is very simple." Sima Yue looked around, trying to find where the array core was. "I haven't finished speaking yet." Little Roar said, "Although this backwards method is simple, once the array core is destroyed, the array will collapse. The effect of every array's collapse is different. Some will shatter like ice and will not be a threat to the people inside the array. Some will be like an explosion, injuring, or even killing the people inside the array formation. This mainly depends on how the person who set up the array set it up." "Damn, that's dangerous," Sima Yue shouted. "Yes, that's why most people will not choose the second method." Little Roar said. Sima Yue thought for a while and said, "If it really explodes, I can't do anything about it. If I can't do it normally, I can only do it backwards. If I do it backwards, I will have a chance to live. If I don't, I will die. That seems to be the case. Then let's look for the array core together." Little Roar flew to Sima Yue's head and laid down, looking around with his round eyes. The array core is usually not very eye-catching. For such a big array, to find the array core is not like finding a needle in a haystack, but it is not that easy either. Little Spirit said, "We still have to find it." Sima Yue shrugged. "This is the only way now. Anyway, you have food and drink there. If we can't get out, we won't die. We have time to slowly waste with it." Little Spirit did not say anything. Sima Yue and Little Roar started to search the array. When she was hungry, she would cook in the Spirit Pearl. When she was thirsty, she would drink water from the Spirit Pearl. When she was sleepy, she would sleep in the Spirit Pearl. Originally, she had planned to sleep in the forest, but Little Spirit said that the consciousness of those who fell asleep would be weaker. If she was bewitched by the array again, she might not be able to wake up again. She did not know how long she had been walking in the forest. The forest was always dark with a little bit of green light. Although the sky was not dark, she had already eaten 7 meals and slept once. Every 2 days would be 3 days. Yu, I can't find the array core at all." Unable to find the array core, Little Roar shrunk his body and laid on Sima Yue's shoulder. "We will find it eventually." Sima Yue sighed. Other than bamboo, there was only bamboo. There were also 2 skeletons that they found while searching. Continuing to search blindly is not a solution. She stopped and said, "Since it is the array core, there must be a certain pattern or special place. Let's observe it carefully first." Chapter 32. This place is too strange. There's no sun. Where is this light coming from? Little Roar came to the side of the bamboo and saw that the light from the bamboo had dyed his pure white fur green as he asked suspiciously, "Light?" Sima Yue heard Little Roar's words and had a flash of inspiration. These bamboos were all emitting light, which meant that these bamboos were all the same. If she could find one that did not emit light, it might be the eye of the array. "Ah, Little Roar, let's go find the bamboo that doesn't emit light." She stood up and patted the leaves off her body as she spoke to Little Roar behind her. "Bamboo that doesn't emit light? Why are we looking for that?" Little Roar flew over and asked. "That could be the eye of the array." Sima Yue said, "In any case, just follow me and see." Okay. Hence, the 2 of them walked around the forest again. This time, they were looking for bamboo that did not emit light. Their goal became clear in an instant. "Master, I feel it." Little Spirit, who had been quiet all this while, suddenly spoke up. "Little Spirit, what do you feel?" Sima Yue stopped and asked. "There's the aura of a spirit stone here." Little Spirit said, Spirit stone, is it a stone like you? Sima Yue asked. How can that thing be compared to me? I am a sacred spirit stone, the only one in the world. I can refine it into a spirit pearl that can contain the world. Those dregs can at most be used to nourish the soul. They cannot nourish life. Little Spirit said proudly. Then why are you so excited? Are you stupid? Since this is a maze, although it is the effect of the array, the eye of the array must be something that is useful to the soul. This way, the effect of the array can be maximized. Little Spirit said. That's why that spirit stone is very likely to be the eye of the array. Sima Yue said somewhat excitedly. At least you're not that stupid. Little Spirit said. Then you can feel its aura. Can you find its exact location? Sima Yue asked. If it was outside the array, I could find it directly. But this is inside the array. I can only feel that it is nearby, within a radius of 50 meters. You can look for it yourself. After Little Spirit finished speaking, he did not speak again. Sima Yue looked around. The bamboo here was not very dense. Compared to other places, it could be described as sparse. She carefully observed each bamboo and saw that each bamboo seemed to be glowing. None of them were like what she thought they were. Could it be that my deduction is wrong? Sima Yue rubbed her chin, doubting her own deduction. Yu, maybe the array's core isn't found in the bamboo. Little Roar said. Not bamboo. That's right. If the eye of the array is really a spirit stone, then it should still look like a stone. Little Roar said. That's possible. Let's take a look at the stones here. Sima Yue hugged Little Roar. The human and beast looked at the small stones inch by inch, but there was not a single stone to be seen. Looking at the only big rock here, Sima Yue placed her last gaze on it. Could it be this? She walked closer to the stone and circled it twice. She felt that this stone was different from the one she saw before. She stretched out her hand to touch it. It had the same cold feeling as the bamboo. Yu, is it this? Little Roar flew over and asked. No, Sima Yue said. If it's the array's core, then it should be something real. It shouldn't be as cold as the bamboo. Then the array's core isn't here either? Little Roar said with disappointment. No, it's here, Sima Yue said with certainty. Can you kick this stone away? Piece of cake. Little Roar flew to the side of the stone. With a light kick, the huge stone was kicked away. Sima Yue looked at the bottom of the stone that was kicked away. It was a small stone that was the size of a baby's fist. Is it this? Sima Yue squatted down and looked at the black stone, saying, Is it possible to just remove this? I don't know if there will be an explosion. I don't care. I'll just treat it as a last resort. After saying that, she threw the little white ball into the spirit pearl. Then, she took a deep breath and stretched out her hand to grab the spirit stone. Ho, ho. The quiet bamboo forest suddenly had a gust of wind. The ground seemed to be about to split open as it trembled nonstop. The bamboo forest was blown apart by the gust of wind. Every single one of them made a crackling sound. Sima Yue could not open her eyes because of the gust of wind. She used the hand that was holding the stone in front of her to block it, but it was still unable to block the force of the wind. Rumble. The ground suddenly split open and the crack quickly became bigger. All the fallen leaves and bamboos sank into it. What the? When she fell into the crack, Sima Yue grabbed the stone in her hand tightly in an attempt to reduce the panic in her heart. Blood seeped into the stone. Sima Yue felt a heart-wrenching pain spread from her hand to her limbs and bones, causing her to faint. Before she fainted, she only had one thought. If the ground closed up again, would she be crushed into meat paste? Her consciousness was in a mess. She did not know how long she had been wandering in the darkness. When she slowly regained her consciousness and opened her eyes, she realized that she was in a valley. Below her was a thick meadow. Her clothes were clean, as if the soil on her body did not exist when the ground split open. She sat up and rubbed her aching head. She wondered if what she had experienced was just a dream. She felt a sharp pain in her palm. She opened her hand and saw that there were a few wounds on her palm. The wounds had not completely healed. Because of the movement just now, they had split open again. Seems like it was not a dream. She took out a knife and cut off a part of her outer robe. She wrapped her hand and tied a knot with her mouth and left hand. After doing all this, she began to observe the valley. Just like the bamboo forest before, there were no living creatures. Not even a shadow of a beast egg could be seen. The difference was that the forest before was filled with bamboo, but there were many different types of flowers and trees here. Could it be that I came from that array to this array? Sima Yue asked doubtfully. I don't think so. I don't feel the aura of an array. Little Spirit said, There's no array? Didn't you say that there was at least an illusion array here? There isn't. This is the real world. Little Spirit said with certainty. Then how do I go back? This isn't an array. If I find a beast egg, I will naturally be transported out. Sima Yue said with a headache. All right. Do you know where the spirit stone is? It's with me. Little Spirit said with a bad tone. Sima Yue felt that something was wrong and asked, What's wrong? There's something wrong with this thing. I'll tell you when you get out. Little Spirit said. Then I'll find a way out first. Sima Yue said. Chapter 33. Do you hear any sound? Sima Yue asked. There aren't any living creatures here. How could there be any sound? Little Roar listened attentively and did not hear any sound. Yes. After Sima Yue finished speaking, she quickly ran forward and stopped in front of a cave. Yu, how did you know that there was a cave here? Little Roar followed Sima Yue and asked when he saw the dark cave. I don't know. That sound told me to come here. Sima Yue said. What's inside? Little Roar asked. I don't know. We'll know once we go in. Sima Yue found a piece of wood and threw a fireball at it. After the wood was lit up, she walked in with Little Roar. The deeper they went, the higher the temperature of the cave, as if it was going to roast them. Yu, it's so hot here. Little Roar could not stand it. He who usually did not sweat was now drenched in sweat. Sima Yue saw Little Roar's situation and quickly kept him the spirit pearl and walked forward alone. Because the temperature was too high, the wood was quickly burnt. Fortunately, before the fire was completely extinguished, she walked to the end and entered the stone room at the end. She found a night pearl in the ring that her cheapskate father gave her. After holding the night pearl in her hand, the stone room became much brighter. When she came in, she leaned against the wall and the night pearl lit up the stone wall beside her. Only then did she see clearly that the stone wall was actually red. Even from a distance, she could feel the scorching heat coming from the stone wall. What is this place? The fire spiritual energy is so dense. If I were to cultivate here, I'm afraid that I would increase many levels. Sima Yue closed her eyes and meditated for a while. She felt that there were red dots all around her, as if they were going to envelop her. It's actually denser than here. The spirit pearl said, Master, don't be in a hurry to go out. If you cultivate here, you'll definitely be able to improve by leaps and bounds. Let's start after I finish looking through the stone room. Sima Yue was also excited. She might even become an expert after she finished cultivating. She approached the center of the stone room. Previously, when she was at the entrance of the stone room, she saw a blurry shadow in the center. Because there wasn't enough light, she couldn't see clearly what it was. Beast egg. When Sima Yue was an arm's length away from the egg, it suddenly emitted a red light. It was so bright that she quickly covered her eyes with her arms. When the dazzling light dissipated, she put down her arm and saw that the egg was emitting a faint red light that illuminated the entire stone room, allowing her to see the environment clearly. Other than her and the egg, there was nothing else in the stone room. The egg was almost as tall as her chest, so she probably wouldn't be able to hug it even if she wrapped her arms around it. There was a flame-like pattern on the beast egg, which fascinated her. She couldn't help but touch it. The cloth that was tied to her right hand was too hot, so she removed it in the tunnel. When her wound came into contact with the egg, her entire hand seemed to be sucked onto the eggshell. The temperature of the egg increased sharply after it sucked Sima Yue's hand. Sima Yue could clearly feel that the flesh on her palm was burnt. She could even smell the smell of barbecued meat. She wanted to retract her hand, but the strength in her body seemed to have disappeared along with her blood. She could only stand there and watch as her blood flowed out of her palm and onto the body of the beast egg. It formed a strange rune and then merged into the egg. With your blood, accept my body. We are connected by blood. We will live and die together. The light of the contract will shine on heaven and earth. Human, are you willing to form a contract with me? A deep voice was heard, waking Sima Yue up instantly. The intense pain made her tremble and her teeth chattered. When she heard the oppressive voice, she wanted to speak, but no sound came out. Are you willing? When Sima Yue didn't reply, the voice asked again. I am willing. She squeezed the words out from between her teeth. Even so, it took all her strength. As soon as her voice fell, a pentagonal pattern suddenly appeared under her feet. The pattern emitted a silvery white light that wrapped her and the beast egg together. She felt that the pain in her body was gone. Her body felt as if it was swimming in warm water, and she felt a wave of comfort. The pentagram slowly shrunk and finally turned into 2 rays of white light. One ray flashed in her chest, and the other flew into the egg. The contract was established. She touched her chest, where she could feel the connection with the egg in front of her. She was actually contracted by the egg. Before she could think about it, she felt this spiritual power flowing in her body. The power in her body suddenly increased, and a small star appeared under her feet. That was the symbol of her spiritual power level. Then, in front of her stunned eyes, the small star turned from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 5, until all 9 stars appeared. Then, the 9 stars slowly came together and fused together. Then, they slowly separated and formed a moon and a star. The small star shook, and there seemed to be another star beside it that wanted to come out. However, it stopped in the end. Spiritual Master, Level 1 Spiritual Master. Sima Yue looked at the level under her feet. She didn't recover until the light disappeared. She had heard that contracting a contract would increase one's power. However, she didn't expect that contracting a beast egg, being contracted by a beast egg, would increase her level by a whole level. This advancement is like drinking water. She couldn't help but exclaim. You, that's because the beast you contracted this time isn't an ordinary beast. Little Roar said from the spirit pearl. The stronger the contract, the higher the bloodline of the spirit beast, the more power a spiritual master can obtain. So strange. Little Spirit said. What's wrong? When you came in, I didn't feel any signs of life. That means that the beast egg should be dead. Little Spirit said doubtfully. But when your blood flowed onto it, it seemed to come alive. Really? Sima Yue felt the connection with the beast egg and confirmed that it was a living egg. Moreover, wasn't the sound of the contract just now made by it? I'm sure, Little Spirit said. This beast egg doesn't look like a newly hatched beast egg. If it wasn't a dead egg, I think you should be able to increase your level. At this time, the beast egg suddenly moved. When Sima Yue thought that it was going to break out of its shell, the beast egg rushed over and drilled into her body. Woo! Chapter 34. However, it was different from the feeling of her palm being burnt. Her body was not burned at all. That flame seemed to be a part of her body as it continued to burn every part of her body. The impurities that were attached to her meridians were all burned clean. Her previously narrow meridians were all cleared. Not only were the obstructions no longer there, she could clearly feel that her meridians had become wider. Her meridians becoming wider meant that she would be able to absorb more spiritual chi when she cultivated in the future. Then her cultivation speed would be even faster. Other than her meridians, her bones were also burned to become more durable. Even her flesh and blood were much stronger than before. She fell to the ground. The pain on her body made her unable to help but roll on the ground, trying to use this method to relieve the pain. However, no matter how painful it was, she clenched her teeth and resolutely did not allow herself to make a single sound. Time passed by minute by minute. Her body was covered by a black mud-like substance again and again. She felt the burning sensation on her body again and again. From the unbearable pain at the beginning to the numbness at the end, she did not know how long she had endured. Will you be all right? Little Roar worriedly looked at the scene outside. She'll be fine. She'll be able to endure it. Little Spirit said emotionally. He had always thought that Sima Yue was just a little doll who had just started cultivating. He did not expect her to have such a determined personality. They could feel the pain on her body through their contract, so they naturally knew what kind of torture she was going through. However, this time, he was shocked by her determined gaze. A person who had such a gaze at this time would definitely not be an ordinary person in the future. I told you that little Yu is not bad. Ling Long laid on little Roar's body with her legs crossed and her hands behind her head. She was not worried at all. People who could understand her soul would definitely not be affected by this pain. Other than them, the spirit stone that was casually thrown to the side also emitted a faint light towards the scene outside. Little Spirit saw the spirit stone and his eyes darkened. Sima Yue did not know how much time had passed. When she felt that she could not hold on any longer, the flames on her body slowly weakened and finally disappeared. Good gee! She moved her fingers and her joints made a crisp sound. She moved her body again, and the joints on her body were also a little stiff. Fortunately, after moving a few more times, they returned to normal. She laid on the ground and gasped for breath. The experience just now made her feel as if she had walked through the sea of flames in hell. The Nirvana flame has burned your body. It will be of great help to your cultivation in the future. The voice of the contract from before. Nirvana flame. Who are you? Why are you able to initiate a contract with me? Sima Yu heard that voice and asked a series of questions. I am called Crimson. You don't need to ask about the rest now. When the time comes, you will naturally know, Qi Yin said. Its voice was a little low, but it was quite magnetic. Don't we have a contract? Since we are connected, why can't we tell each other? Sima Yu said. Knowing too much now won't do you any good. Crimson Flame said, your body is too bad. I use my life flame to refine and transform you. In the future, your cultivation speed will be much faster. Look at your Dantian. I can't see inside yet. Sima Yu said. You can. Try it. Crimson Flame said. Could it be that after he had modified her body, she could see inside? Sima Yu thought to herself. But she still followed Crimson Flame's instructions and sat cross-legged. She closed her eyes and used her consciousness to try to size up her body. She did not know if she did not try, but when she tried, she was shocked. She could actually see the internal structure of her body. Every meridian, every bone, every blood vessel, she could see it clearly. Go to the Dantian, Crimson Flame said. Okay. She continued to let her consciousness wander around her body and quickly reached her Dantian. The first thing that caught her eyes was the reservoir that the Spirit Pearl had prepared for her. Little Spirit said that it was the Spirit Reservoir. The Spirit Reservoir was divided into several sections, and the first layer of each section was filled to the brim. Among them, the red one had the most. It could be seen that her fire attribute spiritual energy was the most powerful. Her consciousness turned into a small person and landed on the Spirit Reservoir. She saw a cylindrical space in the middle. There was no spiritual energy in it, only a small red bead that was spinning nonstop. She looked at the small bead and asked curiously, what is this? This was formed by your body's modification. It can also be said that it was formed by the fusion of the thing in your body and mind. Crimson Flame replied, look up. The small person raised her head and saw the red spiritual energy flowing in continuously from her meridians and gathered in the red spirit reservoir. This is fire attribute spiritual energy? Sima Yue said doubtfully, but I'm not cultivating? This is the use of the bead. Crimson Flame said, as long as it spins, it will automatically absorb the spiritual energy around you. So even if you're not cultivating, the spiritual energy will still come here. So good. Sima Yue exclaimed happily. Wasn't this equivalent to having a high-level cheat? Even if she wasn't cultivating, she could still increase her spiritual energy. That way, she would have more time to do her own things. Because she was too excited, her consciousness popped out of her body and her inner vision ended. Your current strength is too weak. You have to seize the time to cultivate. You can't be lazy. This place has accumulated the fire attribute that I have released for millions of years. You can cultivate here. I will be in a deep sleep later on. If there's nothing, don't wake me up. Crimson Flame did not say anything after he finished speaking. Sima Yue sensed for a moment. This guy had actually fallen asleep. If you're going to sleep like this, you should at least tell me what kind of spirit beast you are, right? Sima Yu said as she pursed her lips. Cough, cough. Although there's no one here, Yu, you should put on your clothes first. Little Roar reminded her. Sima Yue then realized that her clothes had been burnt to ashes in the fire just now. She hurriedly took out a set of men's clothes from her space ring and put on. After putting on her clothes, she then had the mind to think about other things. Since there was such a rich fire attribute spiritual energy here, she definitely could not waste it. After confirming that there was nothing else here, she went to the place where the red flame beast egg was and sat down cross-legged to cultivate. At the same time, at the back mountain of the Capital Institute, 3 days had passed since the end of the beast egg selection. All the students carried their beast eggs out on the first and second day, except for Sima Yue. Feng Zhixing was still waiting in the cave. He looked at the fourth teleportation array, hoping that it would light up. How long do you plan to wait here? The old principal came to the cave and asked Feng Zhixing. Until she comes back. Feng Zhixing looked at the old principal and turned his attention back to the array. The old principal looked at the child of the wind and suddenly asked, "What is your relationship with her?" Chapter 35. Who told you to come? The old principal asked. Principal, you know about the things in that world. I know that you have a good relationship with General Sima. Anyway, I won't harm him and the Sima clan as well. Feng Zhixing said. Furthermore, the rules restrict me, so I can't casually make a move here. I'm not worried about what you'll do. The old principal sighed and said, I'm worried about you. If something happens to that child, it won't. Feng Zhixing said, his child won't lose her life so easily. Feng Zhixing said it with certainty, but he didn't know that the original Sima Yue was already dead. Now another soul was living in her body. AI, you're a teacher. You can't keep guarding here. The old principal said, when it's time for class, I'll go to class. Feng Zhixing said, oh right, principal, do you know where this teleportation array leads to? I don't know. Those who come out can't say where it leads to, but it seems like everyone goes to different places. The old principal said, but they can't say exactly where they go. I see. Feng Zhixing was a little disappointed. You should go back. If she comes back from another place, you won't be able to see her from here. The old principal said, I'll go to the general's residence later and tell Sima about this. I'll go with you. Feng Zhixing suddenly thought of something and said to the principal. The principal nodded, and the two of them went to the general's residence. Sima Lai was shocked when he heard that there was no news of Sima Yue. He wanted to go out and look for her, but he didn't know where the teleportation array led to. General Sima, you should have Yue's life tablet, right? Feng Zhixing asked. Sima Lai heard Feng Zhixing's words, and his face darkened. He asked, how do you know? Don't worry about where I found out. Go and see if her life tablet is intact. Feng Zhixing said anxiously. Sima Lai saw the worry on Feng Zhixing's face and did not continue to pursue this issue. With a thought, a black jade box appeared in his hand. He opened the black jade box, and there was a piece of white jade inside. There were 2 red circles in the jade, as if it was human blood. This is Yue's life tablet. It is in perfect condition, which means that she is still alive. Sima Lai said as he looked at the white jade. Hearing Sima Lai's words, Feng Zhixing's suspended heart finally settled down. It is precisely because her life jade did not have any movement that I did not sense any danger from her. Sima Lai said as he put the life jade back into the space ring. He looked at Feng Zhixing and said, now can you tell me how you knew about Yue's life tablet? Feng Zhixing said, of course I know, because I was the one who helped her mother complete this life jade. Then you are. Feng Zhixing looked at Feng Zhixing in shock. Yes. Feng Zhixing said, don't tell Yue about this. I naturally understand. Sima Lai said. Since this is the case, we will return to the school first. The old principal said, okay, if there is any movement from that child, Please let me know. Sima Lai said, We will. After the old principal and Feng Zhixing left, Sima Yuqi and the others came to Sima Lai's house and said, Grandfather, is Fifth Bro in any danger? Right now, we only know that his life is not in danger. Sima Lai said, However, we can't tell what his situation is just from the life tablet. Let's go find Fifth Bro, Sima Yuran said. Come back. Sima Lai called out to them, saying, You all know about the teleportation array in the school. Nobody knows where Yue has been teleported to. The Lin continent is so big. Where are you going to find her? But we can't just wait like this, Sima Yuming said. Apart from waiting, there's nothing else we can do. Sima Lai said, However, Fifth Bro's life tablet is still intact, so we can roughly know his situation. Sima Yuran said, Fifth Bro must have encountered something and can't come back for a while. Who knows, he might come back in a few days. Sigh. In the days that followed, Feng Zhixing would come every few days to ask about Sima Yue's life tablet. Everyone was used to checking to see if the jade was intact every morning and night. Although they knew that she was still alive, there were rumors in the school that Sima Yue had accidentally entered the fourth teleportation array and was sent to an unknown place to die. When this news spread, some people in the school were happy while others were worried. Those who were happy were, of course, those who hated Sima Yue. The happiest ones were Murong, En, and the Nailing clansmen. Other than her roommates and Feng Xing, there was also Meng Ting, who was worried. Time passed day by day, and Sima Yue did not return for a month. Apart from those who were worried about her, everyone else seemed to have thought that she was dead. Hichio Ji's worried heart gradually calmed down. Just as everyone was worried about Sima Yu, she was in the valley, concentrating on cultivating. Because she had reached the level of a spirit master, she no longer needed to eat. So, she cultivated for a few days. Using a saying from her previous life, a few days passed in the blink of an eye. When she opened her eyes again, the light of advancement appeared under her feet. After the advancement, she was already a 5th-ranked spirit master. The spirit energy in the cave had almost been depleted. Sima Yu glanced at her surroundings. She didn't expect that the fire attribute spirit energy in this insignificant cave would be so dense. It allowed her to rise 4 ranks in a short while. It's not just because of the environment, Little Spirit said. Previously, when you contracted with the spirit beast egg, some of the energy was condensed in your body. It didn't let you advance by too much, but now it's slowly being released. With this environment, you advance by 4 ranks. So, it was because of that spirit beast egg, to be able to increase her strength by so much. What kind of spirit beast was it exactly? Yu, when you were cultivating, I went outside to take a look. Outside this valley is a mountain range. This mountain range seems to be very big. Is it a very big mountain range? Sima Yue, search your mind. The Beichin Kingdom had a very big mountain range. One was the Pu Luo mountain range in the south, and the other was the Bailim mountain range in the west. Comparing the two mountain ranges, the Pu Luo mountain range was slightly smaller, while the Bailim mountain range was slightly bigger. Furthermore, the spirit beasts that lived in the mountain range were much stronger. I don't know if we were in the Bailim mountain range or the Pu Luo mountain range. She stood up and patted the dust off her clothes. Let's go out of the valley and catch a spirit beast to ask. Little Roar said, Yes, that's the only thing we can do now. Sima Yue carried Little Roar out of the cave and walked along the valley. Very quickly, they exited and entered a valley. Before she had the time to check out her surroundings, she heard Little Roar say, Yu, there's someone by the river. Chapter 36. Yu, I can still hear his breathing. Little Roar looked at Sima Yue with disdain. Sigh. Ever since she was reborn and lost her memories, she had become more and more stupid. He lost so much blood. If he was on Earth, he would have died a long time ago. Sima Yue said. Little Roar seemed to be interested in this person. Before Sima Yue could walk to the front, he had already run out of her embrace and flew in front of that person. Yu, this person is really good looking. Little Roar saw that person's face and cried out in surprise. Sima Yue walked over and saw his face clearly. He had a handsome face with a straight nose and sexy lips. His eyes were closed, so she didn't know if he was good-looking. However, his long eyelashes were very attractive. He was really a handsome man. However, she had seen many men like this in her previous life. Although they weren't as handsome as him, she was already immune to it. She pursed her lips and said, "He really is better looking than me. Everyone who is better looking than me is an enemy. Let's go." "Yu, aren't you going to save him?" Little Roar saw that Sima Yue had only stared blankly at that person's face for a while before leaving. So he said in surprise, "Why should I save him?" Sima Yue glanced at that person and said, "You just came back from here, but he wasn't here when you came back. Why is he here when we came out? Don't you think it's strange? Maybe he was injured by a spirit beast when I came back, so he fainted when he came here." Little Roar said. Sima Yue took 2 steps forward and picked up Little Roar, who was drooling in front of that person, saying, "Little Roar, don't think that I don't know that under your pure appearance, you have a perverted heart. You are an auspicious beast, not a pervert." "I'm not a pervert." Little Roar was held by Sima Yue by the neck, and his 4 short legs kicked in the air. "Yu, if we save him, we might know where this is. It's better to ask a human than a spirit beast. Spirit beasts only know where this is, but humans know how to leave this place." Sima Yue's footsteps suddenly stopped. She pondered over Little Roar's words and said, "What you said makes sense. Let's save him first." Returning to the shore, she flipped the man over and saw a long wound on his stomach. It seemed to have been caused by the claws of some spirit beast. The wound stretched from the left side of his chest to the right side of his abdomen. It's a miracle that he's still alive after suffering such heavy injuries and losing so much blood. She looked at the man's wounds and sighed. "Yu, can he still be saved?" Little Roar floated to the side and asked. "He's still alive," Sima Yue said. Then, she rummaged through her cheapskate father's ring and found the pill he had left behind. She took one out and fed it to him. After she finished eating, she saw that the jade bottle had the words 4th grade written on it. In the entire Dong Chun kingdom, this was a rare treasure that could be counted on one's fingers. When she thought about how she had given a level 4 medicinal pill to someone she didn't even know, her heart ached. "Is this enough?" Little Roar asked. "This is a level 4 medicinal pill," Sima Yue said. "When I was injured, the general's residence didn't even have a level 4 medicinal pill. Grandfather had to find that great master sure to exchange for 2 level 3 medicinal pills." Speaking of Sima Lai, she started to miss him. "I don't know how grandfather is now. I haven't heard from him for so long. He and my brothers must be worried to death." "You don't worry. When we wake him up, we'll know where he is and how to get back." Little Roar comforted her. "Sigh, we can only wait for him to wake up." Sima Yue sighed and said, "Your body can grow bigger, right?" Yes. Little Roar nodded. "Then grow bigger and carry him back to the cave." Sima Yue said, "Well, what? You actually want me to carry him?" Little Roar cried out in surprise. "Didn't you say that you wanted to save him?" Sima Yue dug her ears and said, "He's so big and the cave is so far away. If I were to drag him back, I'm afraid that he would be dead before we even reach the cave. Furthermore, I'm giving you a chance to have intimate contact with a beautiful man. Isn't that good? I'm an auspicious beast with morals and a bottom line," Little Roar retorted. "Then are you going to carry him or not?" Sima Yue asked. "I'll carry him." Little White Ball decided that for the beautiful man, it didn't care about morals and a bottom line anymore. It trembled in the air, and its originally small body slowly grew bigger until it was as tall as a person. Sima Yue carried the man onto Little Roar's back and climbed up herself. Little Roar flew them back to the cave. When they reached the cave, Sima Yue was kind enough to take out an old bed from the spirit pearl. Although the bed was so old that it would sway when a person sat on it, it was better to cover it with a blanket than to just throw him on the ground. After making the bed, she carefully placed him on the bed and took out a pair of scissors that Ling Long changed into, cutting his clothes to shreds. "Yu, are you trying to be a hooligan?" Little Roar turned back into his small form and flew to the side. When he saw Sima Yue cutting his clothes, he drooped his ears and covered his eyes with his claws. He didn't cover his eyes in the right position, and half of his eyes were exposed. Sima Yue heard Little Roar's words and said, "I used to have a habit. Either I don't save him, or I try my best to save him. Although he ate a pill, his wounds still need to be cleaned. So it's like this. I thought you were going to be a hooligan and take advantage of him." Little Roar stared straight at the body of the person on the bed. His mouth was wide open, and his eyes were almost filled with red hearts. Sima Yu really couldn't bear to see its lecherous look. She grabbed its neck and flung it backwards, throwing it out. Without Little Roar messing around at the side, Sima Yu's attention was even more focused. She took out water and a towel from the spirit pearl and wiped the bloodstains on his body. After that, she carefully cleaned the wound. In order to prevent the person on the bed from waking up from the pain, she tried her best to make her actions as gentle as possible. The man on the bed woke up briefly when she bent over to clean his wounds. He opened his hazy eyes and saw a pair of crystal-clear eyes focused on his wounds. Was he saved? He sensed the condition of his body and confirmed that he was saved. Then he fainted again. Sima Yue happened to squat down to wash the towel when the man woke up, so she didn't notice. When she finished cleaning the stains on his body, she found that his wounds were already forming scabs. Although I've seen the effects of this pill a few times, I'm still shocked every time I see it. She reached out to touch the scars. When you have time, you should look for a few books on pills and learn how to refine pills. When she finished cleaning, there was only the big bed left in the cave. She thought about how she hadn't slept on the bed recently because she was cultivating. Now that she saw the bed, she felt a little sleepy. Chapter 37. Wu. He touched his forehead out of habit, but it affected the wounds on his body. The pain on his body made him slowly regain his consciousness. "Master, you're awake." Fire Qilin's voice came from the contract space. "In." Wu Lingyu replied faintly, and began to think about what happened before he fainted. He remembered that he followed the clues to the Pu Luo mountain range to find that thing, but not long after he arrived, he fainted again. Once that happened, his soul would be very weak, and he would not be able to summon Fire Qilin. At that time, he met a sacred beast. If it was any other time, a sacred beast like a sacred beast would not be worth his attention, but he did not expect that the fainting would happen so early this time, almost causing him to lose his life. "Master, the time of your fainting is getting closer and closer. We must find that thing as soon as possible." Fire Qilin said worriedly. "I understand." Wu Lingyu nodded. "I remember that I was by the river before I fainted. How did I end up in the cave?" "Master, didn't you notice that there was someone lying next to you?" Fire Qilin said in amusement. Wu Lingyu was shocked. He did not even notice that there was someone lying next to him. If she wanted to kill him, wouldn't it be very easy for her to do so? "Master, don't panic. She saved you," Fire Qilin said. Even if his soul was weak during this time, and the cave was dark, he should not have not noticed that there was someone lying next to him. He remembered that he seemed to have woken up once in a daze and saw a pair of bright eyes. Was the person beside him her? She almost blended into the darkness, and her presence was very low. It is normal that Master did not notice her. Fire Qilin comforted his master. Wu Lingyu took out a pill from his space ring. The pill's grade was higher than the one that Sima Yue gave him. He ate the pill and used the spiritual energy in his body to catalyze the pill. When he felt that his soul was more comfortable, he sat up and took out a shining pearl. He wanted to look at the person lying next to him, but he did not expect to meet a pair of dark eyes. "You're awake." Sima Yue sat up and looked at Wu Lingyu. Although she was asleep as an assassin, she was very sensitive to the movements around her. When Wu Lingyu took the pill, she woke up. "It's you." Wu Lingyu was surprised to see Sima Yue. "You know me?" Sima Yue climbed down from the bed and stood beside the bed to size up Wu Lingyu. Not only did this guy have an enchanting face, but he also had a pair of seductive eyes. When he closed his eyes, he looked very pure, but his eyes showed that he was not as pure as he looked. "I guess so." Wu Lingyu nodded. That time when he went to the capital of the Dongqin country, He just happened to see her crippling a man on the street. At that time, he and the fire Cheelin had a discussion about it, so he still had some impression of her. Sima Yue thought that he was talking about her reputation as a trash, and said, "It seems that this prince's reputation is quite good. However, since this prince saved you, is there any reward?" Wu Lingyu found it funny. This girl was obviously a girl, but she kept calling him prince. Although she wore an illusion ring and hid her gender, she could not hide from the fire Cheelin's nose. "What reward do you want?" he asked softly. "Any reward is fine. It would be best if it's gold or silver coins, or even gems." Sima Yue did not expect him to give her anything specific, so she just casually said two things. "All right, I can give you a generous reward, but I have a condition." Wu Lingyu said, "What condition?" Sima Yue frowned. This guy actually wanted to talk about conditions with her. "You have to stay here with me for a while." Wu Lingyu said, "When the time comes, I will definitely give you a generous reward." "Why?" Sima Yue did not understand. "Before my injuries are healed, I cannot leave this place." Wu Lingyu said, "Do you know where this is?" Sima Yue asked. Pu Luo mountain range to the south of Dongchun country. It is thousands of miles away from the capital. Wu Lingyu said, "It really was Pu Luo mountain range," Sima Yue thought to herself. She did not expect that the teleportation array would actually send her here. "But I want to go back. I have been out for so long, my grandfather must be very worried about me." Sima Yue thought for a while and said, "If that's the case, then I can't give you a reward." Wu Lingyu had a whatever look on his face. "I originally wanted to give you a rank 1 advancement pill, but since you don't want it, then forget it." "Advancement pill?" "Yes." Wu Lingyu said, "I know that General Sima hasn't advanced in a long time, and I just happen to have 2 advancement pills. I was thinking that if you accompanied me for a period of time, I would give you the pills. If you, I will stay." Sima Yue said, "But I hope that what you said is true. Otherwise, I can save you, but I can also kill you." Wu Lingyu's lips curled up slightly, saying, "All right." This girl's tone was not small. From the looks of it, she was not the trash of the legends. Thinking about the rumors of her being a trash, he asked, "There are spirit beasts everywhere here. How did you end up here?" "The Academy's teleportation array sent me here." Sima Yue said, "Your pearl is not bad. It's quite bright. Take out a few more." After speaking, she turned around and left. "Where are you going?" "To prepare dinner." Sima Yue went outside, just to cover up. She did not want Wu Lingyu to know that she had a space that could raise living things. "Master, why did you let a trash protect you?" Fire Cheelin said in the contract space. "Now that you're awake, I can come out. Let me bring you back to the temple to rest." "We won't return to the temple for now. Since we're already here, how can we leave without any news?" Wu Lingyu said, "But you don't have to use the advancement pills in exchange for a trash to protect you, right?" Fire Cheelin said, "Don't you think that she has some secrets?" Wu Lingyu said, "A trash who heard about the Pu Luo mountain range and was not afraid or worried at all. Moreover, the two of us already heard that she went missing in the capital a few months ago. That means that she has been living here for 2 months. Aren't you curious how she managed to survive in such a dangerous place?" "This does make one curious," Fire Cheelin said, "but this is not like your personality. You're so cold-blooded and rarely interested in other people's matters." "What cold-blooded?" Wu Lingyu was dissatisfied with Fire Cheelin's evaluation of himself, saying, "In any case, I'm still the holy son of the world's temple. I represent the holy temple, the holy radiance that captivates tens of thousands of disciples." Fire Cheelin could not take it anymore and interrupted him. "That's you in front of others. Don't confuse your disguise with your true nature." Chapter 38. Not long after, Sima Yue brought in a roasted chicken. Seeing that Wu Lingyu had indeed brought out a few more pieces, the cave was now as bright as day. She took out a table and a plate from her spatial ring. Placing the roasted chicken on the plate, she tore it into a few pieces and asked, "Do you want some?" She had thought about it. She could not hide the fact that she could cultivate from him, so she did not hide it. As long as she did not bring out any living creatures, he would not know that she had a spirit pearl. "You can use the spatial ring." Wu Lingyu said without any surprise. As long as you're a spiritual knight, you can use it. Sima Yue said. Rumor has it that you can't cultivate. You can't even sense spiritual energy. Wu Lingyu said. You already said that it's a rumor. Sima Yue said. You there, do you want to eat? If you don't, I won't care about you anymore. Wu Lingyu. Hearing her call, you there, he said his name. Wu Lingyu, do you want to eat? Sima Yue asked again. Wu Lingyu usually would not eat such simple things, but seeing Sima Yue's bright eyes, he nodded his head and said, Okay. Sima Yue pushed the table to the side of the bed so that he could sit up and eat. Then, she gave him some of the roasted chicken and ate the rest of it happily. Wu Lingyu took a bite of the chicken wing. Originally, he did not have any thoughts about the roasted chicken, but he did not expect that the chicken would be so delicious after being roasted by her. It made him unconsciously take a second bite. I didn't expect you to be able to make such delicious food. When he met something delicious, he was not stingy with his praise. There are many things that you can't imagine. Sima Yue saw little Roar running in. She took out the roasted chicken that she had prepared for him from the spatial ring and placed it on the table. You is so bad. You didn't even call me when you were eating. Little Roar could not speak, so he could only complain to her through the contract. Didn't I tell you to come back? Sima Yue poked Little Roar's head. I heard you chatting with a male spirit beast just now, and you were so happy. Why didn't I notice your lecherous nature before? Since when did I? Little Roar weakly protested, but even his own voice did not believe it. Your contracted beast? Wu Lingyu looked at Little Roar and asked. Sima Yue glanced at Wu Lingyu and said, Yes, a useless and perverted beast. Squeak, squeak, who's useless? She's pretty cute, Wu Lingyu said. Thank you for your compliment. Sima Yue finished her chicken and stood up to leave. No spirit beasts will come here, so you can rest assured and recuperate here. With that, she left the cave. Little Roar hugged the roasted chicken, looked at Wu Lingyu, and then looked at the cave entrance. After hesitating for a while, he still hugged the roasted chicken and went out. Although he liked handsome men, his master was still more important. Wu Lingyu saw Little Roar reluctantly leave and could not help but laugh. After confirming that Little Roar and the rest were far away, Fire Qilin came out of the contract space and turned into his human form. His fiery red clothes were very ostentatious. He came to the table and sat down, grabbed a chicken drumstick and gnawed on it, saying, Master, this girl's roasted food is quite delicious. Why are you eating my drumstick? Wu Lingyu stared at Fire Qilin. You don't like to eat these anyway. Fire Qilin finished the drumstick in a few bites and wanted to take more, but was slapped away by Wu Lingyu and threw a chicken head at him. Can you tell what kind of spirit beast that is beside her is? He asked. Fire Qilin took the chance when he was not paying attention and snatched another piece of chicken, saying, That guy, it's an ancient divine beast, Shinho. Why would an ancient divine beast appear in this kind of lower realm? Wu Lingyu asked. I don't know. Fire Qilin said, and it seems that because it was injured, its strength was greatly reduced. I reckon that if this power went up, it would quickly be eaten by the fierce beasts, especially when it has such a weak master. When he saw Little Roar, he was also shocked. Divine beasts like Shanho were originally very few in number and could be said to be as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. It was very rare to encounter one in the upper realm, so it was even more strange for it to appear in such a barren lower realm. The trash in other people's eyes, not only can she cultivate, she even contracted an ancient divine beast. She really makes people more and more curious. Wu Lingyu said with a smile. Fire Qilin saw Wu Lingyu smile and mourned for Sima Yue for 2 minutes in his heart. Every time he smiled like this, it was when the devil in his heart was causing trouble. Those who were remembered by him did not have a good ending. Where's my roasted chicken? When Wu Lingyu came back to his senses, he discovered that other than the chicken wing in his hand that he had not finished eating, there was only a pile of chicken bones left on the table. Fire Qilin, who had finished eating the roasted chicken, said seriously, Master, let me go and investigate that thing. I have a soul contract with you, so if there's a whereabouts of that thing, I will be able to sense it. During this period of time, let Second Brother protect you. Wu Yu threw the chicken bones on the table and said indifferently, I don't need you to worry about me. Then I'll go. Fire Qilin finished speaking and left the cave, flying towards the other mountains. Sima Yue went to the mountains to take a look and let Little Roar call over the male spirit beast that she had hooked up with. She discovered that it was actually a saint beast, Iron Claw Tiger. She understood the general situation of Pu Luo mountain range from the Iron Claw Tiger, as well as the distribution of the spirit beasts. She then called it back. However, the Iron Claw Tiger stayed in front of her, unwilling to leave. What's wrong? Sima Yue asked. About that, I really like Little Roar. Since I'm alone, why don't you take me in? The Iron Claw Tiger said, somewhat embarrassedly. Cough, cough. Sima Yue almost choked to death on her own saliva. She looked at the Iron Claw Tiger in horror and said, Didn't you say that spirit beasts reject humans? You actually want to take the initiative to recognize me as your master? Furthermore, you're a saint beast. Why would you look up to a little spirit master like me? The Iron Claw Tiger looked at Little Roar and said, I was originally chased out by my clan and have always been wandering in the mountains. Boss is following you, so I think that you will definitely be very powerful in the future. I believe in Boss. Sima Yue glanced at the complacent Little Roar. She did not know how this guy had managed to trick a saint beast into coming over. Sima Yue spread out her hands and said, But I'm not a beast tamer, so I don't know how to tame beasts. It seems that spirit beasts that have not been tamed cannot be contracted, right? I forgot about this. Little Roar only thought of kidnapping a fighter for Sima Yue and forgot about not being able to sign a contract. Then I can't follow Boss anymore? The Iron Claw Tiger said somewhat dejectedly. I will protect her from now on and never leave her. Sima Yue, are you willing to form a contract with me? I am willing, Sima Yue replied. After she finished speaking, the contract array pattern below them began to flicker. The light surrounded the two of them and slowly shrunk. It split into two and entered their bodies. Master, the Iron Claw Tiger could feel the connection between itself and Sima Yue and shouted excitedly. Huh, we actually formed a contract. Sima Yue squatted down and hugged the Iron Claw Tiger's neck. Haha, I told you we could form a contract. Little Roar said proudly. Yes, this time it's all thanks to you, Sima Yue said. Through the contract, the Iron Claw Tiger could feel that Sima Yue not only had an ancient divine beast like Little Roar, she also had an even more powerful contracted beast. It had only sensed it for a moment, but it was already frightened by the aura it emitted. That is the real boss. However, it is in a deep sleep. Don't disturb it, Little Roar reminded. Yes, I know, the Iron Claw Tiger said. In its heart, it really recognized the right master. Do you have a name? Sima Yue touched the Iron Claw Tiger's head and said, I don't. When I was born, my parents were already dead. I was never liked by the tigers, so no one gave me a name. In the end, I was even chased out by them. The Iron Claw Tiger said. Sima Yue scratched the Iron Claw Tiger's neck and said, Don't be sad. In the future, you will be with us. We will be a family. Since you don't have a name, then you'll be called Yaguang. Thank you, Master. Yaguang rubbed Sima Yue's hand and said, Yaguang, I will be training in the Pu Luo mountain range for the next few days. I will be looking for some lower-ranked spirit beasts to battle with. Do you know where I can find some lower-ranked spirit beasts that live alone? Sima Yue asked. I know. In the past, when I was wandering, I had already explored most of the Pu Luo mountain range. Yaguang nodded and pointed to a mountain range not far away, saying, Most of the spirit beasts there live alone. Over there, most of the spirit beasts live in groups. The spirit beasts in the outer regions are lower ranked. Most of them are low-ranked spirit beasts. The middle and inner regions have higher-ranked spirit beasts. In the inner regions, there are a few spirit beasts. Then is this place considered the outer regions or the middle regions? Sima Yue asked. Master, this place is already considered the inner regions. Yaguang said. Inner regions. Sima Yue blinked and said, This is actually the inner regions? But why haven't I seen a single spirit beast? Cough, cough, this is the inner regions. Guang said, but this is the edge of the inner regions. I don't know why, but the spirit beasts in the inner regions never come here. So it is normal for Master to not see any spirit beasts after staying here for so long. Then why did you come here? Sima Yue asked. I fought with a 3rd-level spirit beast. It was 2 levels higher than me. I couldn't beat it, so I could only run. Guang said, but I didn't think that it would chase after me so fiercely. I panicked and ran. When I finally reacted, I was already here. Then I met Little Roar. A spirit beast actually dared to bully you. Let's go find it for revenge. Little Roar said. No need. Guang said. Sima Yue grabbed Little Roar and said, if you go like this, who will fight? Can you beat it? If I wasn't injured, why would I care about a small 3rd-level spirit beast? Little Roar said, Guang can't beat it. You don't have any battle strength now. I'm just a 5th-level spirit master. Am I looking for death? Sima Yue said, Little Roar, Master is right. If we go now, we won't be able to beat anyone. We will even put Master in danger. Guang was obviously more mature than Little Roar and said, anyway, it didn't get any benefits from me. It won't be too late to take revenge after I become stronger. All right then. Little Roar thought about it and agreed. If Sima Yue was in danger, it would be troublesome. After all, her strength was still so low. Chapter 40. You're back? Do you know where we are now? Wu Lingyu looked at Sima Yue and asked, you don't know where we are? Didn't you come here by yourself? Sima Yue asked, I only know that I came to Pu Luo mountain range, but something happened and I don't know where I am now. Wu Lingyu said, we are in the inner circle of Pu Luo mountain range. Sima Yue said, I was sent here directly. You were alone in the inner circle and didn't get killed by the sacred beasts. You're really lucky. We're actually in the inner circle. Wu Lingyu muttered, you've been here for so long. Why didn't any spirit beast come to find trouble with you? They hate humans very much. Sima Yue was stunned. She thought about how no spirit beast had come after her for so long. She thought that it was because there were no spirit beasts here, but Guang said that there were spirit beasts here. Could it be that Crimson Flame was here, so they didn't come? She knew that in the world of spirit beasts, ranks were very strict. Based on Little Roar's reaction and her own contract advancement, Crimson Flame must be a very powerful spirit beast. The aura it emitted could make spirit beasts feel afraid, so they stayed away from this canyon. Even spirit beasts were afraid of it. What kind of monster did she contract with? Sima Yue couldn't help but think. Wu Lingyu saw Sima Yue deep in thought and said, you know the reason? How would I know? Sima Yue shrugged and said, don't forget that I'm trash. I don't know much about these things. Didn't you say that rumors can't be trusted? Wu Lingyu said, you can't believe everything, but you can't not believe everything. Haven't you heard of this before? Sima Yue said. She thought that with him around, she would definitely not be able to cultivate. So she took out a pot and prepared to cook dinner. Didn't you just eat? Wu Lingyu said. Sima Yue glanced at him and said, didn't you and Little Roar eat more than half of it? It's already night time, so it's naturally time for dinner. After she finished speaking, she took out the items. Looking at the enclosed environment, she put the items back into her space ring and went out of the cave to take them out again. Wu Lingyu thought for a while and got down from the bed. He walked out of the cave and watched Sima Yue skillfully wash the rice and cook. Are you like this at home too? He asked aloud. He had only heard of her reputation as a trash, but he didn't know that she was so skilled in cooking. Or rather, the food she made should be better than the food made by the chefs of ordinary restaurants. Sort of. Sima Yue glanced at him. The pills in this world were indeed powerful. Take the injury on his stomach, for example. If it was in her previous life, he would have to rest in bed for at least a few months. However, he could get out of bed in just a few hours. Wu Lingyu leaned against the wall at the entrance of the cave and didn't say anything. He just watched Sima Yue cook or looked at the Puluo Mountains under the night sky. After Sima Yue finished cooking, she scooped out 2 portions and placed them on the table. She said, you strong people don't seem to eat much. If you don't want to eat, just leave it there. Although I don't feel hungry, I want to try seeing you cook so enthusiastically. The moonlight was like water. The two of them sat on the table and ate. From time to time, the roars of spirit beasts could be heard. Because it was already late, she only made porridge and 2 side dishes. Although the style was simple, the taste was completely different from the food in this world. Even someone like him who was never interested in eating couldn't help but eat a second bowl. After Sima Yue finished eating, she placed the bowl on the table and looked at Wu Lingyu. She said, "You wash the dishes." "Me? Wash the dishes?" Wu Lingyu suspected that there was something wrong with his ears. Since he was young, he had never done such a thing. Now, an ant from a lower realm that he could crush with his hands was actually asking him to wash the dishes. "That's right. I cooked, so of course it's your turn to wash the dishes," Sima Yue said matter-of-factly. "Don't forget that I'm equivalent to your employer. I'm paying you to accompany me," Wu Lingyu said faintly. "You said that you'll give me 2 advancement pills, but what if you return when the time comes? You have to give me half of the payment first. Only then can I confirm our employment relationship," Sima Yue said as she stretched out her hand in front of Wu Lingyu. Wu Lingyu looked at the small hand in front of him. Under the moonlight, it was as smooth as jade. He suddenly wanted to know how it would feel to hold this hand in his hand. However, he had never been interested in women, so this thought was just a passing thought. With a thought, a small jade bottle appeared in his hand. He placed the jade bottle in Sima Yue's hand and got up to enter the cave. Sima Yue opened the bottle and sniffed. There was a faint fragrance. "Little spirit," she called out. "What is it?" Little spirit replied, "Since your previous master was a pill master, then you should be able to recognize the advancement pills, right? Can you help me see if this is the advancement pill?" After speaking, she kept the jade bottle in her spirit pearl. Little spirit took the jade bottle and opened it to take a look. He said, "Yes, and it's a top-grade pill." "That's good." Sima Yue heard Little Spirit's reply and happily went to wash the dishes. After she cleaned everything up, she walked around the canyon to digest her food before returning to the cave. Wu Lingyu was lying on the bed, pretending to be asleep. He felt a shadow looming over him. He opened his eyes and asked, "What are you doing?" "You can sleep inside," Sima Yue said. "Why?" Wu Lingyu asked. "I want to sleep." "You can sleep in the middle and occupy the entire bed," Sima Yue said as she sat on the bed and bent over to remove her shoes. "No," Wu Lingyu rejected. "Why?" Sima Yue got up and looked at Wu Lingyu in confusion. "I'm not used to sleeping with others," Wu Lingyu said. "I don't like sleeping with others either, but this is my bed and I only have one bed. May I ask if you have a bed?" "No," Wu Lingyu said. His basic necessities were usually taken care of by others, and he didn't need to take care of them. Therefore, he didn't have the awareness to bring a bed. "Then that's it," Sima Yue said. "We only have one bed now. If we don't sleep together, where am I going to sleep? Why don't you return the bed to me?" Sima Yue took off her shoes and saw that Wu Lingyu didn't move. She used all her strength to push him. "Wu Lingyu, this is my bed. It's mine now," Wu Lingyu said indifferently. When he saw Sima Yue touching him, he subconsciously patted Sima Yue's hand. Sima Yue used her hand as a knife and slashed towards Wu Lingyu. The two of them went from pushing each other to fighting. Sima Yue's moves were fast and accurate. Wu Lingyu didn't fall behind either. Even though he was lying down, he was still evenly matched with Sima Yue. Chapter 41. Wu Lingyu saw her eyelashes trembling and suddenly thought of the pair of lively and serious eyes he saw when he woke up. "You're pressing on my wound." Sima Yue thought of the wound on his stomach and got up from his body, saying, "I'm a man. I'm not interested in you. Hurry up and move inside." Wu Lingyu did not say anything this time, but moved inside a little. Sima Yue took out another pillow from her space ring and placed it outside. She lay down on her side and closed her eyes, no longer paying attention to Wu Lingyu. She, a girl, did not even care about sleeping on the same bed as him, yet he was still dawdling there. Just thinking about it made her feel bad. Wu Lingyu could feel that Sima Yue was angry. He touched the wound on his stomach. He didn't think that this brat's movements would be so nimble. With this kind of close combat attack, if it wasn't for his rich battle experience, he wouldn't be her opponent. Thinking of the rumors about her, was she really trash in the past? If the rumors in the past were fake, then she had hidden it too deeply. When she shouted at him just now, her posture was quite fierce. However, every time he saw her pretending to be a man, he felt that it was funny. Thinking of her words of not being interested in him and the clear look in her eyes when she said those words, he subconsciously touched his face. When he was in the upper realm, no matter where he went, he was the center of attention. Many girls tried to curry favor with him and secretly promised to be with him. Although he liked those girls and even hated them, he never thought that there would be a day where he would be shouted at by a girl that she was not interested. Although Sima Yue was asleep, she still let Little Roar and the others pay attention to Wu Lingyu's situation, just in case. Every time she fell asleep, she was afraid that she would dream of the past again. However, she wanted to dream of it again. However, this time, she did not dream until dawn. Wu Lingyu fell asleep very late. With another person in his body, and it was a woman, he felt uncomfortable all over. He didn't fall asleep until the latter half of the night. The next morning, Sima Yue got out of bed and glanced at Wu Lingyu, who was still sleeping. She quietly went outside to get some food, then quietly came back in, put the food on the table, and went out. After Sima Yue left, Wu Lingyu opened her eyes. She leaned over and supported her head with her hand. When she saw the dishes on the table, she smiled. He got up from the bed and sat down at the table, saying, "This girl really thinks that everyone else is like her and can't skip 3 meals a day." He sat down and drank 2 mouthfuls of porridge before saying, "This girl cooks a new dish for every meal. Where did she get so many new recipes? But the taste is really good." Wu Lingyu thought that Sima Yue was going out for a walk, but she ended up waiting for half a day. After Sima Yue left the cave in the morning, she called Yiguang out. "Master, the inside of the spirit pearl is amazing." Yiguang said excitedly when he saw Sima Yue. "Yu, this guy's been jumping around in the spirit pearl since he went in. He's so excited." Little Roar lied on Yiguang's head and reported to Sima Yue. "It's the first time I've seen such a good place. I'm just happy for a moment." Yiguang said embarrassedly. "Anyway, you guys will be staying inside if you don't have anything to do. You get used to it." Sima Yue said, "Do you know how to get to the outer regions safely?" "Master, are you going to look for spirit beasts to improve your combat ability?" Yiguang asked. "Yes. My current strength is not enough, and I don't know many spirit techniques. I want to start training with the lowest level spirit beasts." Sima Yue said, "There's no safe environment in the outer regions. But with Little Roar around, he can release his aura when he meets spirit beasts. They will naturally hide far away. Once we reach the outer regions, Little Roar will withdraw his aura." Yiguang said, "If that's the case, then let's go." Sima Yue said, "Master, the outer regions are still very far from here. Ride on my body, and I'll bring you out." Yiguang said as his body swayed and became much bigger. Once a spirit beast becomes a holy beast, it will be able to transform. Yiguang had always been in this form. Sima Yue flipped onto Yiguang's body and said, "Let's go." Yiguang received the order and brought Sima Yue to the outer regions. With Little Roar's aura opening the way, they quickly reached the outer regions of Pu Luo mountain range. They stopped at the top of the mountain because Yiguang could not casually release his aura like Little Roar. Sima Yue was afraid that with him around, the spirit beast would hide. She kept him in the spirit pearl and only left Little Roar outside to accompany her. There were many spirit beasts in Pu Luo mountain range. Just as they came down from the top of the mountain, they met a fire lizard. "Yu, that's a 3rd-level spirit beast. With your current strength, you should be able to fight it," Little Roar said after seeing the fire lizard's rank. "It's also a fire-type spirit beast. Just nice, I can test out my fire-type spirit energy." Sima Yue said. When the fire lizard saw Sima Yue, its eyes immediately lit up. It was like a dog that saw a bone and wanted to eat her. Because Sima Yue did not have any spirit energy fluctuations, the fire lizard naturally treated her as a normal person. At first, it did not plan to use any spirit energy to attack her. Instead, it swung its long tail at her. It cannot be denied that these spirit beasts had a tough exterior. That fire lizard only swung its tail casually, but the rock that Sima Yue was standing on had a few cracks on it. What great strength! Sima Yue stood at the side and looked at the cracks on the rock. She was slightly surprised. Looks like spirit beasts have strong bodies. This is not wrong. When she met a strong enemy, she would become especially excited. Since its strength was so great, and a human's body was weaker, she naturally wanted to play to her strengths. It just so happens that I haven't used my spirit energy in a battle yet. You can be my first test subject. As she said this, she began to condense the spirit energy in her body, slowly gathering it in her hands. When the fire lizard saw that Sima Yue had actually started to condense her spirit energy, it cried out loudly and once again used its tail to attack her, as if it wanted to interrupt her actions. When Sima Yue saw the fire lizard's actions, she hurriedly dodged to the side, narrowly avoiding the attack. If it was a normal person, they would definitely have been interrupted by this attack. It was just like the time when Meng Ting saw her on the stage and threw out a spirit energy ball in advance. However, although she was stopped for a moment, she did not stop and continued to condense her spirit energy in her hands. As the spirit energy increased, the spirit energy ball became bigger and bigger. She could already feel the power in her hands. It was different from the feeling of pointing a gun at someone in her previous life. This kind of power made her feel as if she could split the sky and earth apart in an instant. Chapter 42. His master had once said that his soul was incomplete. It could be said that he only had half of a normal person's soul. So as he grew older, his body would become weaker. This was because that half of his soul was not enough to support his growing body. Other than the fact that his body was getting weaker and weaker, there was another drawback. He would faint every once in a while, and after he fainted, he would not be able to use his spiritual energy for a period of time. He had to take the pills that his master had prepared for him to slowly recover his soul. He cultivated for 2 cycles, but Sima Yue still had not returned. He got up and walked out of the cave, only to find that it was already evening. "Master, did she leave with the pills you gave her?" Wu Lingyu's other contracted beast said in the contract space. Wu Lingyu also thought so, but after thinking about her clear eyes, he shook his head and said, "She wouldn't." As soon as he finished speaking, Sima Yue's figure appeared at the other end of the canyon. She did not expect Wu Lingyu to be at the entrance of the cave, and was stunned when she saw him. Wu Lingyu saw that Sima Yue's walking posture was a little off, and asked faintly, "Are you hurt?" "It's just a small injury." Sima Yue covered her left arm with her right hand. "Why are you outside?" "I came out to check the time and see why you're not back yet." Wu Lingyu replied, "Don't worry. A man's words carry enormous weight. Since I've taken your payment, I won't leave alone," Sima Yue said as she walked around him and entered the cave. "This girl is really sensitive." Wu Lingyu laughed. Sima Yue returned to the cave and laid on the bed. Although she had taken the pills, the wound on her arm still hurt, reminding her of what she had gone through today. When she was fighting the fire lizard this morning, she relied on her agile body and combat experience as an assassin to win. After killing the fire lizard, Yiguang told her that normally, humans would collect the corpses of spirit beasts after killing them. This was because spirit beast bodies were relatively tough and could be sold. Moreover, spirit beast brains contained magic crystals. Magic crystals were important raw materials for refining pills and weapons, so they could be sold for a good price. Thus, she called out exquisite and had her transform into a dagger. She dissected the fire lizard on the spot, found a magic crystal in its brain, and separated its skin and flesh. Although she had obtained the spoils of war, her body was also stained with blood. By the time she was done, it was already noon. She made a simple lunch and ate it. Before she could finish eating, a leopard smelled blood and came looking for her. This golden leopard was of the same rank as the fire lizard, but it was much more agile than the fire lizard. Its fighting ability was also much higher. Sima Yue had used some of her spiritual power in the morning and had not recovered yet, so it was very difficult for her to win against the golden leopard. In the end, her arm was hit by the golden leopard and her body was knocked to the ground. However, that fellow still died in the end. Fighting with spirit beasts twice in one day and even getting injured, this was the first time she realized how strong spirit beast's fighting ability was. However, although she won, her body was also very tired. Her arm was bleeding profusely. She took out some pills from her spatial ring and ate them. However, because she had given them to Wu Lingyu, she could not find any high-grade pills. She could only take out a random bottle, so the effects were not very fast. She got up and kept the golden leopard's corpse in her spirit pearl. She left the place where she fought, and coincidentally, there was a river not far away. She washed the blood off her body and rested for a long time. When her wounds had healed, she called Yiguang out. "Master, it was too dangerous just now. You should have called us out." Yiguang said as soon as he came out, "This little bit of danger is nothing. It's not like it was a matter of life and death." Sima Yue said, "But master, you're injured." Yiguang said with heartache. Sima Yue patted Yiguang's head and said, "If a person wants to grow, they have to learn to be independent. If you want to rely on others from the start, it will be very difficult for you to grow." Yiguang was silent for a while and said, "Master, I understand. All right, I don't have any more strength to fight today. Let's go back." After speaking, she sat on Yiguang's back and let it bring her back to the canyon. Thinking back to the battle in the day, Sima Yue felt a little excited. She realized that she could use the spiritual energy in her body better than yesterday. Her body that had not fought properly for a long time was screaming. However, at the same time, she also realized that her body was not strong enough. That was why she was injured in the battle. It seems that not only do I need to fight, I also need to train my body. After speaking, Sima Yue closed her eyes and fell asleep. Wu Lingyu walked around the canyon. When he came back, he saw that Sima Yue had already fallen asleep. "You went out for a day and even came back injured. What did you do for the whole day?" Wu Lingyu muttered softly. When he came to the bedside, Sima Yue, who was originally asleep, opened her eyes. Seeing that it was him, she went back to sleep. What a vigilant girl. Wu Lingyu sighed in his heart. Then he took off his shoes, went to the bed, and lay down with his clothes on. He didn't know if it was because he didn't eat today or because he was thinking about where she went, but he couldn't fall asleep. However, he seemed to have gotten used to having this girl by his side. Chapter 43. Where are you going? Wu Lingyu suddenly asked. The mountains. Sima Yue replied. I want to go with you. Wu Lingyu suddenly said. What? Sima Yue looked at him in surprise. Wu Lingyu's words stunned both of them. Even he didn't know why he would say such a thing. Since you belong to me during this period of time, I naturally want to know what you're going to do outside. Wu Lingyu nodded. He didn't know if he was saying this to Sima Yue or to convince himself. Sima Yue looked at the smile on Wu Lingyu's face and said, Your smile is very fake. It's better if you don't smile. Wu Lingyu touched his chin and said, Others say that my smile has a holy radiance that brings them warmth and hope. Those people are all blind. Sima Yue said. Wu Lingyu laughed and stopped pretending. The aura on his body suddenly changed. His holy smile turned into an evil smile. His pure eyes became charming. His entire person was filled with an evil aura. This is the original you, right? Sima Yue said as she looked at the person who had changed in an instant. This guy gave off the feeling that he was an incomparably holy person. But now his aura was completely different. This difference was huge. If she didn't see it with her own eyes, she definitely wouldn't believe that this was the same person. Can you bring me along now? Wu Lingyu asked. Sima Yue was still hesitant. If she brought him along, he would know that she had made a contract with Yiguang. Don't worry. I won't tell anyone what I see. Wu Lingyu said, because there's nothing to say. Sima Yue looked at Wu Lingyu. Her instincts told her that he wasn't lying and said, Then you can come. But I won't have time to take care of you after you leave. It's okay. Wu Lingyu smiled. She was so weak that she really didn't need to protect him. Sima Yue brought him outside and called Yiguang out. She sat on his back and turned to look at Wu Lingyu. Come on up. Wu Lingyu did not expect Sima Yue to have a contract with a sacred beast. With her strength, shouldn't she only be able to contract with one spiritual beast? What's more, contracting an ancient divine beast would require even more energy. Under such circumstances, she was still able to contract other spiritual beasts. It seemed that her spiritual power was very strong. Sima Yue saw that he was in a daze and remembered that he did not like to be close to people. She said, "If you don't want to come up, you can go back." After saying that, she even smiled. Just as she was about to let Yaguang go, she suddenly felt something tighten around her waist. A pair of large hands hugged her. "I can't use my spiritual power right now. You have to let me hug you tightly." Wu Lingyu sat behind Sima Yue and whispered in her ear. Sima Yue's face darkened. Although she did not turn around, she could already feel the proud smile on his face. "Then you have to hold on tight." "Yaguang, let's go." Sima Yue coldly shouted, and Yaguang started to run. They followed the route they took yesterday to the outskirts of Pu Luo mountain range. When they reached the outskirts, she kept Yaguang. Wu Lingyu looked at the surroundings and asked, "What are you doing here?" "You'll know in a while," Sima Yue said, "but you have to stay away from me later. Otherwise, I won't be responsible if you get hurt." Wu Lingyu did not understand, but he quickly understood Sima Yue's purpose for coming here. This time, Sima Yue encountered a rattlesnake. Its level was 2 levels higher than the 2 spirit beasts from yesterday. If she had encountered it yesterday, she would have most likely lost. But with yesterday's experience, she was more familiar with the use of her spiritual power. She also had some experience in fighting with spirit beasts. Wu Lingyu leaned against a tree not far away and watched Sima Yue fight with the rattlesnake. There were a few times when she was almost bitten by the rattlesnake, but she managed to avoid it. Moreover, as the battle dragged on, she became more familiar with the battle. Her body became more agile. If it was said that she was dodging most of the time, then later on, she was using the rattlesnake as a practice target. "Pooh!" Sima Yue jumped and flipped behind the rattlesnake. She then stabbed the dagger into the rattlesnake's weak spot. The rattlesnake's head and tail were raised. Its body suddenly became stiff, and it kept shaking, as if it wanted to get rid of Sima Yue. Sima Yue did not expect the rattlesnake to still have so much strength when the dagger was already in its weak spot. Seeing that the dagger was about to be thrown out, she immediately sat on the rattlesnake's back. Her 2 legs tightly clamped onto its body. Her pants were even torn by the scales on the rattlesnake's body. The rattlesnake straightened its body and wanted to throw Sima Yue off. She quickly reached out her left hand to hold onto the snake's body. She then pulled out the dagger with her right hand and stabbed it fiercely. This time, she used all her strength and stabbed the dagger to the bottom. The rattlesnake struggled a few more times and then slowly fell to the side. After a tough battle, she had exhausted all her strength and fell to the ground together with the snake's body. Wu Lingyu walked over slowly and looked at Sima Yue, who was lying in a pool of blood and panting heavily. Her performance just now had shocked him. Seeing her practice without any regard for her life, he was deeply touched. "Are you all right? I won't die." Sima Yue flipped her body and lay sprawled on the ground. She had just fought with the rattlesnake for almost an hour. Now that her limbs were weak, she did not even want to move. Hearing Sima Yue's words, Wu Lingyu chuckled and said, "Since you won't die, then get up. If you continue lying down, other spiritual beasts will smell the blood and come over." Sima Yue glanced at Wu Lingyu. Taking a deep breath, she supported herself with both hands and stood up. Wu Lingyu stood at the side and looked at her sorry state. He asked, "Where are we going now?" Sima Yue kept the rattlesnake and looked around. That way. Wu Lingyu did not raise any objections and followed her down the mountain. At the foot of the mountain, they saw a small stream. "Hey, you sit here and rest. I'm going to take a bath. You're not allowed to peek." Sima Yue pushed Wu Lingyu to sit under a tree as she spoke. She went to the small stream behind to take a bath. Before she went into the water, she called Yaguang and the rest out to guard her. Although she looked like a man, she was a real woman. If that fellow came over to take a look, she would be at a disadvantage. Wu Lingyu sat under the tree and leaned against it when he heard the sound of water behind him. He had not sat on the ground for a long time and was still in such a casual mood. Chapter 44. You're done bathing? Wu Lingyu opened his eyes and asked as the light in front of him was blocked by a shadow. Yes. Sima Yue replied faintly and said, You didn't peek, right? What's there to look at? Wu Lingyu said, Mph. She had a good figure too, okay? She just didn't show it. What do you want to do now? Wu Lingyu asked. I'm hungry. Let's eat. Sima Yue said. Wu Lingyu's mouth twitched. Eat again? Sima Yue didn't care about his reaction. She walked to the shore and took out the snake that she just killed. She cut it into pieces with a dagger and kept the rest. She left one piece and washed it with the river water. You plan to eat this? Wu Lingyu walked over and saw Sima Yue playing with the snake meat. His eyebrows furrowed. Sima Yue glanced at him and said, You don't have to eat it if you don't like it. You won't feel hungry if you don't eat anyway. Wu Lingyu stood at the side and didn't say anything. Sima Yue cleaned the snake meat and took out a pot. She put all kinds of seasonings in it and put it on the fire to boil the snake soup. She then took the rest of the snake meat and skewered it with an iron skewer. After a while, the smell of the barbecued meat wafted over. She then put the prepared seasonings on the meat and roasted it for a while before putting it on a plate at the side. She waited for all the meat to be roasted before putting it on the table. Do you want to eat? After all, he was her employer now, so she asked symbolically. Wu Lingyu seemed to be a little resistant to snakes. After hesitating for a while, he walked to the table and picked up the meat to eat. After eating the meat, the snake soup was almost done. Sima Yue scooped 2 bowls of soup for the two of them. The delicious taste made Wu Lingyu break his rule of not eating snake meat again. You seem to know how to cook? Wu Lingyu finished the soup and asked. You know, I couldn't cultivate in the past. Sima Yue said, so I had to eat all the time. Then I learned how to cook. The general's residence doesn't have a chef? Can an ordinary chef cook better than me? No. Then that's it. And I really enjoy the process of making things. After finishing her meal, she packed up her things and continued to look for lone spirit beasts in the mountains for training. At night, they did not return to the cave in the canyon. Instead, they found a cave to rest in. Anyway, she went back yesterday because Wu Lingyu was there. Since he came with her today, there was no need for her to go back. For the next half a month, they did not return to the canyon. Sima Yue spent most of her time battling with spirit beasts. Wu Lingyu would sometimes accompany her, and sometimes he would cultivate in the cave by himself. In half a month's time, Sima Yue could clearly feel that Wu Lingyu's strength was constantly recovering. Sometimes the aura that he unconsciously released would even make her feel apprehensive. However, no matter how strong he became, she would not allow him to interfere when she was battling. However, it seemed like that guy did not intend to interfere. Half a month later, Fire Qilin returned. He did not find Wu Lingyu in the canyon, but through the contract, he found them outside. Sima Yue was battling with a spirit beast. When Fire Qilin arrived, the spirit beast immediately fainted. Yu, that's a transformed beast. Little Roar reminded her from the spirit pearl. Transformed beast, Sima Yue said in surprise when she saw Fire Qilin. Fire Qilin glanced at Sima Yue. She was immediately suppressed by the formless pressure on his body, making it hard for her to breathe. Was that his contracted beast? Not only was he strong, his contracted beast was also so strong. What was his identity? Yu, I know who he is. Little Roar said. You know? Have you seen him before? Why didn't you say so earlier? Sima Yue asked in surprise. Where have I seen him before? If I had, I would have remembered earlier. Little Roar said, I recognized his contracted beast. That transformed beast? You know it? You can say so. Little Roar said, that's a Fire Qilin. Fire Qilin? Isn't that an ancient divine beast that only exists in legends? Sima Yue thought of the ancient divine beasts that she had read in the books before. One of them was a Fire Qilin. That's right. It's an ancient divine beast like me. Little Roar said, furthermore, there's only one in the continent. The person who contracted him is the holy son of the sage pavilion. Now that Fire Qilin has appeared, that Wu Lingyu is definitely the holy son of the sage pavilion. What kind of power is the sage pavilion? It sounds like a decent sect. Sima Yue said, the sage pavilion is the power that rules this world. No matter where it is, there will always be a branch of the sage pavilion. The head of the sage pavilion is a sage, which is equivalent to a god that rules this world. Little Roar explained. So you're saying that this guy's identity is actually very honorable? Sima Yue touched her chin and looked at Fire Qilin and Wu Lingyu. The sage pavilion appears in front of the public with a holy image. I heard that this holy son is the purest man and is respected everywhere. Little Roar said, Holy? Why can't I see it? Sima Yue said, I feel that there's an evil aura around him. On the other side, Wu Lingyu and Fire Qilin were talking. Master, I haven't found that thing. Fire Qilin said, I've searched the entire Pu Luo mountain range, but I haven't smelled its aura. Could it be that I've sensed wrongly? Wu Lingyu said, Master, what do we do now? Fire Qilin asked. Since there's nothing, we can only go back up first. We've just received the Palace Master's summons today and have everyone rush back. Wu Lingyu said, What's the matter? I don't know. Maybe that old guy has found the girl in the prophecy again. Wu Lingyu said, Let's go back and take a look first. Okay. After the two of them finished talking, Fire Qilin returned to the contract space. Wu Lingyu looked at Sima Yue and indicated for her to go over. Sima Yue followed the mindset of her employer and came in front of Wu Lingyu. We're leaving now, Wu Lingyu said concisely. It's over? Sima Yue blinked twice and looked at Wu Lingyu excitedly. Wu Lingyu looked at Sima Yue's happy expression and felt an indescribable discomfort in his heart. Did she not want to be with him that much? You're very happy? That's right. Although the results of my training here are very good, I have more important things to do. Before Sima Yue could finish her sentence, she had already fallen into an embrace. What's more important than accompanying me? Wu Lingyu looked at Sima Yue with an evil smile, his eyes filled with anger. What's wrong with you? Sima Yue looked at Wu Lingyu, who suddenly changed his expression and put her hands on his chest. Let go of me. Wrong with you? Maybe I'm really wrong. Chapter 45. Wu Lingyu narrowed his eyes. This feeling was even better than what he had imagined. Ugh! Sima Yue took advantage of his inattention and bit his lips. Then, she slid down and escaped from his grasp. Are you crazy? She stood far away and looked at Wu Lingyu cautiously. Wu Lingyu touched his lips. He could already smell his own blood. You bit me really hard, he said faintly. There was no sign of anger on his face. Of course. Sima Yue stared at him and said, This prince is straight. I have no interest in men like you. Oh, why did I hear that you've been chasing after a man in the capital? Wu Lingyu wiped the blood off his lips and said, You already said that you heard about it. I told you before that you can't believe rumors. This prince likes beautiful women. Sima Yue lied without blushing. Hee. Seeing Sima Yue's reaction, he laughed out loud. You like men? Sima Yue looked him up and down. Finally, she heard a certain part of him say, You're gay. Wu Lingyu looked at Sima Yue's red eyes, and his face darkened. What did you say? I don't care if you're gay or not. You already said that you're leaving. Now, give me the other half of the reward. Then, we'll go our separate ways and never meet again. Never meet again? Wu Lingyu moved and appeared beside Sima Yue. She did not even see his movements clearly. She only felt that she was suppressed by his aura and could not move. Wu Lingyu took out a jade bottle and pulled Sima Yue's hand over. He placed the bottle in her hand and whispered into her ear, Remember to change the smell on your body in the future. Otherwise, you won't be able to hide from the noses of high-level spiritual beasts. Woman. Sima Yue was shocked. He knew that she was a girl. Wu Lingyu looked at Sima Yue's expression with satisfaction. He smiled and kissed her lips again. Then he said, Although I don't like crying women, since we've slept together for so many nights, I won't be irresponsible. I'll reluctantly admit that you're my woman. Sima Yue glared at Wu Lingyu. This guy knew everything and slept on the same bed as her, as if nothing had happened. Now, he even claimed that she was his woman. If she wasn't imprisoned, she would have stabbed the dagger into his heart. Wu Lingyu saw the anger in her eyes and smiled. He reached out to touch her smooth face and said, "You're really cute when you're angry. I hope that the next time we meet, you'll have already grown up. Next time we meet, remember to wear female clothes for me. I'll show you what I'm wearing." Hee hee. Wu Lingyu felt that he liked to see her angry face. He took off the illusion ring from her finger. Sima Yoyue's body immediately changed. At least, her chest was no longer flat. There's still some goods. He touched it with his hand and nodded. "Bastard. Hooligan. Are you scolding me? I'm just measuring its size," Wu Lingyu said. He then took out another ring and cut Sima Yoyue's finger. He dripped a drop of blood on it. After the blood soaked into the ring, he put it on for her. He then turned the knob on the ring, and Sima Yoyue turned back into a man. When she saw Wu Lingyu put on the ring for her, Sima Yoyue suddenly thought of the time when people got married in her past life, the way the groom put on the ring for the bride. Wu Lingyu looked at Sima Yoyue's current appearance with satisfaction and said, "This way, even if there's a high-level spirit beast, it won't be able to smell that you're a woman. All right, that old man is rushing me again. I have to go. Remember, you're my woman now. You're not allowed to attract other men. Remember to miss me." After speaking, he planted another kiss on her lips. "Woman, don't forget our promise. Next time, remember to wear female clothes for me. Get lost. Ha. There's a city not far from here. There's a transportation array that leads to the capital." Seeing Sima Yoyue's appearance, he laughed and retreated. He formed a seal with his hands, and following his movements, the space seemed to be torn apart. A dark tunnel appeared in front of them. Wu Lingyu came to the tunnel and turned to look at Sima Yoyue, saying, "Woman, remember not to let anyone know that you're a woman. If anything happens, I won't save you." After speaking, he turned and walked into the tunnel. The tunnel closed after he entered, as if it had never appeared. Damn it! Following Wu Lingyu's departure, Sima Yoyue's body was finally able to move. Thinking about the feeling of being imprisoned, she was furious. If he wanted to kill her, she wouldn't even have the strength to retaliate. However, this also ignited her fighting spirit. Was this the power of an expert to kill an enemy with just a feeling? She looked at the illusion ring on her hand. Thinking about how he knew that she was a woman and kissed her 3 times, she had the urge to kill him. "Just you wait. If I don't take revenge, I'll take your surname." Sima Yoyue shouted towards the tunnel. This was her first kiss in 2 lifetimes, and it was snatched away just like that. Thinking about it made her angry. "You." Seeing Sima Yoyue's angry look, Little Roar called out softly from the spirit pearl. "What?" Sima Yoyue said unhappily. "That, I heard a lot of spirit beasts running over. If you're still in a daze here," before Little Roar could finish his words, she saw a lot of spirit beasts rushing out from behind the mountain and running towards her with all their might. There were at least 100 of them. They were the same species as the rhinoceros that she had just killed. They must have smelled the scent of blood and came to take revenge. Damn it! Sima Yoyue didn't have time to complain as she scampered off. As she ran, she called out Yaguang and waited for it to transform into its original form before riding it out of Pu Luo mountain range. The space tunnel opened in another world, and Wu Lingyu walked out. Thinking about Sima Yoyue's angry look just now, he couldn't help but smile. He called out Fire Qilin and got it to transform into its original form before sitting on it. "Master, that wasn't like you at all," Fire Qilin said as they flew. "Oh, don't tell me you really want her to be your woman?" Fire Qilin asked. "Why can't I?" Wu Lingyu asked back. "But the difference between you and her is too big. Even the women in the palace are 1,000 times better than her. Why would you fall for her?" Fire Qilin didn't understand. He had only left for half a month. How did his master, who had never been close to women, suddenly become like this? This master likes the things she cooks. Wu Lingyu said indifferently. If Sima Yoyue heard this, she would definitely regret it. If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have cooked for him. Wu Lingyu smiled. Actually, he didn't know why he said that he wanted her to be his woman. However, when he said it just now, he didn't feel any discomfort at all. It was as if it was something that should be done. Her stubborn little face, her courage that didn't shrink back whenever she met with danger, and her cooking skills were all different from other women. Little by little, she ran into his heart. Chapter 46. Wu Lingyu sat on the fire qilin and landed in front of the palace gate. The guards immediately knelt down and said respectfully, "Greetings to the Holy Sun." Wu Lingyu smiled and nodded at them, gently saying, "You may rise." "Thank you, Holy Sun." The guards stood up and returned to their positions. "Where's the pavilion master?" Wu Lingyu asked. "The pavilion master is in Clear Wind Hall, discussing some matters with the other pavilion masters." The guard said, "The pavilion master instructed us to go to Clear Wind Hall to look for the Holy Sun if he returns." "I understand." Wu Lingyu waved his hand and entered the palace gate, walking towards Clear Wind Hall. Everywhere he went, everyone respectfully bowed to him. "Holy Sun, the pavilion master has been waiting for you for a long time." A woman in white saw Wu Lingyu and said, "Please follow this servant." The woman brought Wu Lingyu in and said to the people in the main hall, "Pavilion master, the Holy Sun has returned." A man in black sat in the main seat, wearing a white robe. It was simple, but not simple. His handsome face made him look like he was in his 30s, but he was actually an old man who had lived for over 1,000 years. "Lingyu greets the pavilion master." Wu Lingyu slightly leaned forward. "Lingyu, you've returned. I'm currently discussing some matters with the other pavilion masters. You may return to your seat." The pavilion master nodded and said, "Yes, pavilion master." Wu Lingyu went to the seat below the pavilion master and sat down. "All right, let's continue." The pavilion master said, "Where were we just now?" Replying to the pavilion master, "We were just talking about the Shimin clan being exterminated." A female pavilion master said, "Yes. Have you investigated the Shimin clan being exterminated?" The pavilion master asked. "We've already investigated it clearly. It was done by the Zhongzheng clan, who had always been their enemy." Another pavilion master replied, "We don't care about the matters between clans, but I heard that Shimin clan once had a daughter called Shimin Yue. Her innate talent is extremely high. Is she the girl that the higher-ups want us to look for?" Pavilion master asked. Replying to pavilion master, the people who went to investigate came back and said that although Shimin Yue's talent is extremely high, and she is also a multi-element spirit master, she only has 3 elements and not more than 4. That pavilion master said, "Furthermore, she has already been killed by the Zhongzheng clan." This point can be confirmed. Wu Lingyu was sitting in her seat. When she heard them talking about Shimin Yue, she couldn't help but think of Sima Yue. Thinking of her furious look before she left, the corners of her mouth couldn't help but curl up. "Since it's like this, we don't need to care about the Shimin clan's matter anymore," Pavilion Master said. "Yes, Pavilion Master." That man said, "However, when we were investigating, we found out that the Zhongzheng clan has a young miss called Zhongzheng Hanyu. She's a rare genius. I feel that she can be accepted into our sage pavilion." "Is she the girl in the prophecy?" Pavilion Master asked. "No, she is a dual-element metal and fire." The Pavilion Master said, "We have already sent people to check on her and confirmed that she is dual-elemental. Since she is dual-elemental, then accept her in." Pavilion Master waved his left hand and placed his right hand on the armrest. Pressing his forehead, he said, "What about the other places?" "Pavilion Master, I found a 4-elemental spirit master in the area under our jurisdiction." Another Pavilion Master who looked more sinister said, "Are you sure she is a 4-elemental?" "Yes, Pavilion Master. She's a 10-year-old girl who has just started cultivating. During the clan's test, she was found to be a 4-elemental. No matter if she is the girl in the prophecy or not, we cannot let her go." Pavilion Master said indifferently, as if a life was not worth mentioning to him. "I have already sent people to bring her to the Sage Pavilion in the name of her being extremely talented. I plan to let her join us and kill her after reporting to Pavilion Master." "Good. According to the orders from above, we would rather kill 1,000 innocents than let one go." As long as she is a 4-elemental spirit master, we cannot let her go. Do you understand? Pavilion Master instructed. Understood. Wu Lingyu sat in his seat and did not say a word. He laughed coldly in his heart. This was the sage pavilion that everyone thought was pure and holy. In their eyes, other people's lives were nothing more than grass. For a prophecy that they heard from who knows where, they would do this. After a while, the other pavilion masters finished their discussion and left. Only the pavilion master and Wu Lingyu were left. Why did you go out for so long this time? Pavilion master looked at Wu Lingyu and asked. Replying to pavilion master, I heard that there were movements in the Yilin continent, so I went down to take a look. Wu Lingyu replied. Then did you find anyone suspicious? No. Wu Lingyu said confidently. The Yilin continent is the lowest level continent here. It is harder than ascending to the heavens to produce a genius. If he were to talk about a suspicious girl, he would think of Sima Yue. However, he did not plan to say that out loud. Even so, we cannot be careless. Pavilion Master said. I understand. Wu Lingyu lowered his head slightly, acting as if he had heard what he said. How is your body? Pavilion Master asked with concern. Replying to Pavilion Master, is still the same. Master said that he is still looking for a solution for me. Wu Lingyu replied. Pavilion Master took out a jade bottle from his interspatial ring and said, This is a pill that I ask people to research. It has a very good, nourishing effect on the soul. Take it and consume it. Wu Lingyu stood up and received the jade bottle with both hands, saying, Thank you for your concern, Pavilion Master. You are the holy son that I personally selected. You will be my successor. Naturally, I have to care about you. Pavilion Master smiled and said, If you have any problems in the future, just let the people below investigate. You don't have to do it personally. I understand. All right, you can go and rest. Pavilion Master waved his hand and said, Yes, then I will go first. Go. Remember to consume the pill. Pavilion Master reminded. Yes, I will consume it when I get back. Wu Lingyu said. Lingyu will take his leave. Wu Lingyu turned and left the main hall. When he was at the door, Pavilion Master's voice came from behind him. The Holy Daughter will be returning from above in a few days. When the time comes, bring some people to welcome her. Thinking about that woman whose skin was thicker than a city wall and who always clung to him, Wu Lingyu's body stiffened. However, he still turned around and said yes. At the same time, in the Yilin Continent's Pu Luo mountain range, Sima Yue was riding Anya Guang and escaping in a sorry state. She originally thought that she would be fine after leaving the mountain range. She did not expect that they would chase her for hundreds of miles. As for the city that Wu Lingyu said was not far away, she rode Anya Guang for half a day before she saw it. This far away is what he meant by not far. Sima Yue kept Guang in her spirit pearl. The next time I see him, I will definitely skin him alive. When she entered the city, everyone saw her sorry state. Not only did they not laugh at her, they even looked at her with deep respect. Excuse me, how do I get to the Spirit Master Guild? Sima Yue pulled a passerby and asked. Master, just go straight ahead. After 2 streets, just turn left. The passerby replied. I know, thank you. This was the first time that Sima Yue was looked at with such reverence. She felt that it was a little magical. What she did not know was that everyone here could tell that she came from the Pu Luo mountain range. Since she dared to go to the Pu Luo mountain range alone, she must be a powerful person. Naturally, everyone treated her with respect. She followed the person's instructions and went to the Spirit Master Guild. There was a teleportation array that led to the capital. Chapter 47. Correspondingly, Alchemists had their own Alchemist Guild, Weapon Masters had their own Weapon Masters Guild, Beast Tamers had their own Beast Tamers Guild, and even mercenaries had their own Mercenary Guild. The members of each guild intertwined and were not completely independent. Different guilds managed different resources, and the teleportation array of each city was in the Soul Master Guild. When Sima Yue walked into the Soul Master Guild, the people inside saw her shabby clothes and were filled with respect. How can I help you? The staff bowed slightly and asked. I would like to use the teleportation array to return to the capital, Sima Yue said as she looked around the guild. Perhaps because the place was small, the Soul Master Guild here was also small. The decor was simple, and the counter was old. There was only a woman working with her head down. When she saw Sima Yue enter, she raised her head and asked. The woman smiled and said, "I'm sorry, our teleportation array leads directly to the capital." "There isn't?" Sima Yue was confused. "Didn't Wu Lingyu say that there was one?" "There used to be one, but it broke down a while ago, and there was no array master to fix it." The woman said, "But there are teleportation arrays to the cities near the capital. You can go there and then transfer to the capital. It won't take much time and gold coins." "All right, then I'll go there first," Sima Yue said. "Please fill in a form and pay 5 gold coins." The servant passed her a piece of paper. Sima Yue took the paper and saw that it was just some basic information. She filled it up quickly, then took out 5 gold coins from her space ring and placed it on the counter. The servant placed the gold coins in the drawer and took the paper without looking at it, saying, "Please follow me." Sima Yue followed her to a room in the backyard of the Soul Master Guild. She saw a rune array in the middle of the room and the names of many cities on the wall. "Please stand on the array." Sima Yue stood on it and watched as the servant went to the right wall and pressed the name of city. "This is Xiang City, which is on the right side of the capital. It will be more convenient for you to go to the capital if you go there," the maid explained to Sima Yue. Sima Yue nodded. At this moment, the array suddenly lit up with white light. It was similar to the teleportation array she saw in the cave. All the runes lit up, and she disappeared into the array. Seeing that the array was working normally, the maid looked down at the form in her hand. When she saw the name column, she was stunned. "Sima Yue? That trash?" She lifted her head to look at the teleportation portal, but Sima Yue was no longer there. "It's definitely not that trash." The maid shook her head and said, "That trash can't cultivate at all. That person just now had a spatial ring, so he must be a spirit master. It must be someone with the same name." The maid shook her head and left the room with the teleportation array. Sima Yue felt her body being squeezed, and her eyes closed involuntarily in the teleportation circle. She did not know how much time had passed, but when she felt relaxed and could open her eyes again, she had already appeared in another room. Did we use the Pu Luo Mountain Ranges transmission array? Why is there only one person? Hey, hurry up and get up. Don't occupy the teleportation portal. There are teleportation portals from other places coming here. Sima Yue heard a surprised voice and crawled up from the teleportation portal, standing to one side. Less than half a minute after she left, the teleportation portal lit up again. After the white light faded, 3 people appeared in the room. The 3 of them glanced at the room, and without saying anything, they left immediately. After they left, the teleportation portal lit up again, and 2 more people came. They also glanced at the room and left. Sima Yue saw that everyone else was standing, and it seemed like she was the only one who was lying down when she arrived here. "Hey, what are you doing here? Why aren't you leaving?" A teenage boy in the room saw Sima Yue staring blankly at the teleportation portal and scolded her. "I want to use the teleportation portal to go to the capital." Sima Yue said, "You want to go to the capital?" The boy looked at Sima Yue and said, "Go out the door and turn left of the courtyard. Go there." Sima Yue did not know why he wanted her to go there, but she still obediently went. She was now in a hurry to go home, and she was too lazy to care about these people's unreasonable attitudes. After leaving the room, she saw a large garden outside, and there were many strange flowers and plants. It was very different from the simple and crude Spirit Master Guild in Pu Luo Mountain Range. She saw a green foxtail grass, which she had seen a few times in her previous life. She went forward and broke it and hung it in her mouth. Following the boy's instructions, she went to the courtyard beside the courtyard, where there was a long queue. So many people. Sima Yue went over and stood at the back of the queue, following the crowd as they slowly moved forward. She thought that this was the place to fill in the form, but she quickly realized that the people who went in did not come out, and from time to time, there were bursts of white light. So the teleportation portal here is not the same as the one to leave. She rubbed her chin and said, "This teleportation portal seems to be very fun. In the future, when I have time, I should go and learn. If I can directly make a teleportation portal, then it will be much more convenient." Ha ha ha! When the people in front of her heard her words, they all laughed out loud. A man at the back patted her shoulder and said, "Little brother, becoming an array master is not something that can be done just because you want to." "Is it very difficult to become an array master?" Sima Yue asked. "Of course, becoming an array master is not something that an ordinary person can do. The difficulty is comparable to becoming an alchemist or a weapon refiner. It might even be more difficult because out of 1,000 spirit masters, there might be an alchemist, but there might not be an array master." That man said, "Is that so? Then wouldn't it be awesome to become an array master?" Sima Yue's eyes lit up. If it was someone who was familiar with her in her previous life, they would know that she was extremely interested in this. Haha. In any case, it is very difficult. Little brother, if you have the ambition, then work hard to do it. Once you succeed, then you can have whatever you want. The man did not have any intention of laughing at Sima Yue and patted her back as he encouraged her. "Hee hee, thank you, big brother." Sima Yue laughed and said, "You're welcome, little brother. Do your best." The man said, "Oh right, where are you going?" "The capital," Sima Yue replied. "The capital is not far from here. Using the teleportation portal is a waste of gold coins." "Do you know anyone in the capital?" the man asked. His unintentional words shocked Sima Yue. If she used the teleportation portal to go back, then she would directly go to the Spirit Master Guild in the capital. The people here might not know her, but the people that would definitely know her, then wouldn't the fact that she was a Spirit Master be exposed? "Ah, I remember now. I still have something to do, so I'll leave first. Bye, big brother." After thinking it through, she left the queue and left the Spirit Master Guild. She stopped a person on the street and asked for directions to the capital. That person not only told her the directions, but also told her that she could take a beast carriage, and it only cost 15 gold coins. Hence, Sima Yue went to find a place that rented a beast carriage, and asked the person to send her to the capital. It was less than a day's journey, which meant that this city was really close to the capital. In the evening, she was already standing in front of the gates of the capital. Outside the city, she paid the person and asked him to return. Looking at the majestic city walls, she smiled slightly. Chapter 48. "Fifth young master, you're back." Sima Yue nodded indifferently at them, saying, "I'm back. Where's grandfather?" "The general just came back." The guard said, "I'll go inform them immediately." After speaking, the guard ran in, shouting as he ran, "Fifth young master is back. Fifth young master is back." Sima Yue saw how excited that guy was and smiled lightly as she shook her head and went in. "Yu is back. Where is she?" "Fifth bro is back. That guy's finally back. Fifth young master is finally back." Just as Sima Yue passed through the front yard, she felt her vision darken and she fell into a warm embrace. "Grandfather." Smelling a familiar scent, Sima Yue rubbed against Sima Lai's embrace. "You're finally back." Sima Lai hugged Sima Yue tightly. His voice choked with emotion. "Grandfather, I'm fine." Sima Yue patted Sima Lai's back and comforted him. "Fifth bro, you're finally back. If you didn't come back, we were going to look for you." Sima Yue ran, and the others ran into the yard and saw Sima Yue come out from Sima Lai's embrace. "Grandfather is really biased. He's never hugged us like this before." Sima Yue huffed. "If you were missing for a few months, I'd give you a few hugs too." Sima Lai shouted at Sima Yue. "Fifth bro, where have you been these few months? You worried us to death." Sima Yuchi walked over and saw that Sima Yue was safe and sound. His heart finally relaxed. "Yeah, how did you end up in the fourth teleportation array? And where were you sent to?" Sima Yuming asked. "It's a long story. Let's go in and talk." Sima Yue said. "Okay." They went to the hall, and Sima Yue sat down and began to talk about her experience. "Pa!" After hearing Sima Yue's words, Sima Lai slammed his palm on the table and angrily said, "Someone actually dared to harm you. I was wondering why you would enter the fourth teleportation array." So you were pushed in by someone. Sima Yulu said, I'll go to the sect tomorrow and drag that person out. I'll let him understand that there are some people he can't afford to offend. Don't be so agitated. Sima Yue rolled her eyes helplessly when she saw how eager they were. Are you guys going to listen to me or not? Fifth brother, tell me. Where you teleported to? Pu Luo mountain range. Sima Yue answered. What? You were actually sent to the Pu Luo mountain range. Did you get hurt or anything? Don't worry, I'm fine. Sima Yue said with a smile. To show that she was okay, she even stood up and moved a little. There are many spirit beasts in the Pu Luo mountain range. Even a normal spirit master would not dare to go there alone. Did you encounter any danger? Sima Yulu asked worriedly. Fifth brother, if you're hurt anywhere, you have to tell us. Sima Yuran looked at Sima Yue and was worried that she was hiding something from him. Even they did not dare to casually go to the Pu Luo mountain range, not to mention Sima Yue, who had just started cultivating. I'm really fine. Sima Yue emphasized again. Seeing that they did not believe her, she could only call Yaguang out. The moment Yaguang came out, the pressure of a saint beast filled the entire hall. Master! Yaguang shrunk and came beside Sima Yue's feet. This is the spirit beast Yaguang that I contracted at the Pu Luo mountain range. It's a saint beast. When I met with danger, it saved me. Sima Yue saw that they did not believe her, so she gave all the credit to Yaguang. Yaguang looked at Sima Yue and thought that every time its master asked it to be a bystander, it did not do anything. Seeing Sima Yue's threatening gaze, it could only lower its head and not say anything. This saint beast has never been tamed before. How did you contract it? Sima Lai looked at Yaguang, his eyes filled with suspicion. When I met it, it happened to be injured by a spirit beast and escaped. It fell by the river, and I saved it, so it took the initiative to acknowledge me as its master. Sima Yue lied without skipping a beat. How was this saving Yaguang? It was obvious that she had saved Wu Lingyu, but since she said it this way, they could only listen. After all, this was the most reasonable explanation. All right, I also saved someone at the Pu Luo mountain range, and he gave me 2 pills as thanks. At that time, I thought a grandfather. Sima Yue said as she took out 2 jade bottles. Inside them were 2 pills that could help one advance in rank. She placed the pills on Sima Lai's table and returned to her seat. What kind of pills are these? Sima Yulu asked curiously when he saw Sima Lai look at the pills in the jade bottles. These are pills that help one advance in rank. Sima Yue said, Grandfather has been stuck at this bottleneck for a long time. With these pills, Grandfather should be able to advance in rank. Really? The other 4 brothers were all excited when they heard this. Grandfather, are these really pills that help one advance in rank? Sima Yuran asked. Sima Lai nodded. These pills have been lost for a long time. He did not know who Sima Yue had saved at the Pu Luo mountain range. They actually had these pills. That's great. Sima Yuran waved the fan in his hand. If Grandfather can advance in rank, we won't have to worry about the Nailing clan coming to find trouble. What happened to the Nailing clan? Sima Yue asked. Did anything happen in the 4 months that I wasn't around? Actually, nothing much happened. Sima Yuran said, It's just that the old ancestor of the Nailing clan recently advanced in rank, the same as Grandfather. The Nailing clan usually goes against us, but because they're not as strong as Grandfather, they usually restrain themselves a little. However, ever since their old ancestor advanced in rank, they've become extremely arrogant. Their buttocks are about to reach the heavens. Now, as long as Grandfather can advance in rank and suppress them once again, we'll see if they can still be so arrogant. Sima Yue said. The Nailing clan. Sima Yue touched her chin, her eyes shining with a different light. Since we have these pills, Grandfather should advance in rank quickly. Sima Yuchi said, I'll go to the palace tomorrow to ask for leave from the Emperor. After that, I'll come back and begin my closed-door cultivation. Sima Lai said, During this period of time, you have to be careful of any movements from the Nailing clan. We will. Grandfather, you can relax and go into closed-door cultivation. Sima Yuran said, Fifth bro, now that you're back, do you still want to go to the sect? Sima Yulu asked. Your teacher, Feng Zhixing, has always been worried about you. He comes every 2 days to ask about your situation. Teacher Feng. Sima Yuan never thought that he would actually be so concerned about her. After thinking about it, she said, I'll wait for grandfather to finish his closed-door cultivation before going to the sect. I still have some things I want to do at home. Then tell me who harmed you. I'll take revenge for you. Sima Yulu said. Chapter 49. Teacher Feng, please have a seat. Sima Yue smiled and waved her hand, saying, Grandfather has something to do, and my brothers are also busy, so I will be the one to entertain you today. When did you come back? Feng Zhixing quickly gathered his thoughts and sat down on the chair, looking at Sima Yue, who was sitting opposite him. I just came back last night. Sima Yue said, Where have you been these days? Feng Zhixing picked up the tea that the servant girl served, using the lid of the teacup, but did not drink. That teleportation array sent me to a mountain range very far away. Then, because of some matters, I was delayed outside for a while. Sima Yue smiled, saying, I heard that Teacher Feng was very worried about me. I am really grateful for your concern. It's good that you came back safely. Feng Zhixing heard Sima Yue's reply, then picked up the teacup and took a sip, then placed the blanket on the table, asking, Then when do you plan to go back to the academy? There are some matters at the general's residence these few days, so I want to go back in a few days. I don't know if I can take a few days off? Sima Yue asked. Of course you can. I think that you must have suffered a lot during this period of time outside. You should rest well at home for a period of time. Feng Zhixing readily agreed. Then thank you, Teacher Feng. Sima Yue said, Oh right. I asked Teacher Feng to keep the news of my return a secret. Okay. Feng Zhixing nodded, saying, Since you're already back, I will go back to the academy first. You can tell me when you want to tell me what happened during this period of time. With that, he stood up and left. Sima Yue looked at Feng Zhixing's back, her heart filled with many questions, but she knew that even if she asked him now, he would not tell her the answers. After Feng Zhixing left the general's residence, he turned around and muttered, She is finally back, and she is much stronger than before. He must have had a fortuitous encounter. Master, this is good. You don't have to worry anymore. A voice sounded in his mind. Don't worry. Sima Yue waited for Sima Lai to return and personally escorted him to the secret room. Only when she saw the door of the secret room slowly close did she turn around and leave, returning to her own courtyard. Young master. Sima Yue glanced at her 2 maidservants. When they saw her return last night, they were extremely excited. It was rare that they were not as afraid of her as before. I'm going to cultivate in my room. Don't disturb me if there's nothing important, Sima Yue instructed. Because she had used the interspatial ring in front of them, they knew that she could cultivate. In addition, they were all people who had made an oath to her, so she didn't plan to hide it from them. After all, he was someone close to her. It would be more convenient for her to do things after knowing. Yes. Sima Yi returned to her house and locked the door. Then, she flashed into the spirit pearl. Little spirit. What? Little spirit appeared in the air. Where's the spirit stone from last time? Sima Yue thought of the spirit stone that little spirit kept in the soul pearl and wanted to study it to see if it could help her soul. I thought you weren't interested in this thing. Little spirit finished speaking, and a piece of black stone appeared in front of them. Sima Yue caught the spirit stone and said, This is the thing that trapped us in the soul bewitching array for so long. Yes. Little spirit nodded. Then will this thing be beneficial to my soul? Sima Yue asked. Originally it could, but now it can't. Little spirit said. Why? Because there's already a spirit living inside. Little spirit said. A spirit living inside? Sima Yue held the spirit stone high and squinted her eyes to look at it for a while. She didn't find anything special about it. Stupid. I already said it's a spirit. How can you see it like this? Little spirit said. Then how do you know there's a spirit inside? Sima Yue asked puzzledly. I'm the king of the spirit stones. I'm naturally sensitive to spirits. There's a spirit living inside this stone, of course I know. Little spirit said. All right. Sima Yue held the spirit stone in her hand and said, "This means that there's a spirit that got here first. So I can't use this now." "More or less," Little Spirit said, "but even forming a contract with me can't completely restore your soul. These two stones won't be of much use to you." "Then what kind of spirit is living inside?" Sima Yue shook the stone, trying to shake the spirit inside awake. "How would I know? He hasn't come out since he came in." Little Spirit crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked at Sima Yue's actions. He couldn't help but roll his eyes. "Hey, the person inside. If you're awake, come out and show your face." Sima Yue shouted at the spirit stone. No one answered. "If you don't come out, I'll throw you away." Still, no one answered. "All right then." Ling Long. Sima Yue placed the stone on the ground and called Ling Long out. "Master, you're called Ling Long. Do you miss Ling Long?" Ling Long said excitedly the moment she appeared. "I want you to transform into a weapon." Sima Yue said. "What weapon?" "A hammer." Ling Long's mouth twitched. She wanted her to transform into a hammer. After a moment, a hammer appeared in Sima Yue's hand. Looking at her ugly appearance, Ling Long wailed in her heart. "Does this brat really know how to use weapons? Why does she always want me to transform into such a weapon?" Sima Yue took the hammer and knocked on the spirit stone, saying, "If you don't come out, I'll break this stone. Let's see how you're going to stay here." After saying that, she raised the hammer up high. Just as she was about to hit it, a shout was heard, "Stop!" "Oh, you're finally willing to speak." When Sima Yu heard his voice, she laughed evilly and said, "Your voice is indeed a little scary, but this lord isn't scared. I'll count to 3. If you don't come out, I'll break it. 3, 2, 1. Just as she was about to attack, a red fog blocked her movements. Following that, the fog turned into a faint human figure. He had handsome features and a slender body. He looked like he was in his 20s. He had fiery red hair and fiery red clothes. Even his sharp eyes were red. He looked like a demon. "Oh my God, who is this? He's like a ball of fire." Sima Yue was shocked by the person who appeared in front of her. Chapter 50. Sima Yue felt as if she was frozen in place after being stared at by the man. The aura emanating from his body was many times more powerful than Wu Lingyu, who had recovered his strength. Sima Yue calmed herself down and knocked on the spirit stone with her hammer, saying, "I've been brave since I was young. But from what you said just now, you're not human?" "Umph, I'm a noble demon. How can I be a lowly human like you?" The man said. "Demon?" Sima Yu picked up the spirit stone and stood up. She sized him up and said, "You don't look like a human or a ghost. You don't look like a human at all. I didn't expect you to be a demon. But how did the demon race end up here? And how did they end up here?" "Oomph." Hearing the sarcasm in Sima Yue's words, the man turned his head to the side. "What's your name?" Sima Yue asked. "Ignore. I can't always call you hey hey hey, right? Or give you a name like Kitten or Puppy." Sima Yue said. The man's mouth twitched, saying, "Mo Sha. Mo Sha. It really does sound like a demon's name." Sima Yue said, "You were the one who set up the illusion array." Silence. There was no denial. "Seems like it." Sima Yue said, "I'm a person who always takes revenge. You trapped me in the illusion array for so long. How do you think we should settle this debt?" As she spoke, she used her hammer to knock on the spirit stone in her hand. Mo Sha looked at Sima Yue's actions, and his gaze darkened. He suppressed his anger and said, "How do you want to settle this? You're able to live in this small stone, so you should be a powerful person. Why don't you give me some benefits?" Sima Yue said shamelessly. Mo Sha looked at Sima Yue for a long time, as if he wanted to see through her inside and out. After a long time, he said, "If you want benefits, that's not impossible. But you have to promise me one thing." "What is it?" Sima Yue asked. "Before I find my physical body, I want to stay here." Mo Sha said. "No problem." Sima Yue nodded. This spirit pearl was so big that it wouldn't be a problem to store as many of these stones as possible. "I'm not done yet," Mo Sha said. "Then you can continue." Sima Yue rubbed her chin and looked at him, thinking about what benefits he could give her. You have to help me find my physical body. Mo Shah faintly said. F*CKU. Sima Yue could not help but scold. The world is so big. Where am I going to find your body? I don't even know how to get to the demon realm. My physical body might not be in the devil realm. Mo Shah said. Why? Sima Yue asked. At that time, my soul was forcefully separated. Half of it entered here, and the other half was reborn. Mo Shah said, but the reborn me might not be a demon. I don't know where to find it. Sima Yue said, even if you can't find it, you still have to find it. If I ask you to do something, I will naturally give you sufficient rewards. Mo Shah said. First tell me what good stuff it is, and see if it can tempt me to agree. Sima Yue's eyes turned as she said, Imperial Beast Art. Mo Shah said faintly. Imperial Beast Art? Little Spirit shouted from the side. That's a good thing. Master, you have to agree. It's just an Imperial Beast Art. Although beast tamers are rare, I don't necessarily need this thing to become a beast tamer. But I have to do so many things. It's not worth it. Sima Yue shook her head and said, that Imperial Beast Art is something from the ancient times. Mo Shah said, something from the ancient times? Sima Yue narrowed her eyes at Mo Shah, saying, so what? Are you stupid? The beast tamers nowadays only use the simple beast taming art to tame spirit beasts. The beast taming art is 100 times more powerful than that. Little Spirit pulled Sima Yue to the side and said, my previous owner wanted to look for this Imperial Beast Art, but he couldn't find it even when he died. Is this thing really that good? Sima Yue was in disbelief. Of course, Little Spirit said with certainty, the most important thing is that this Imperial Beast Art was lost a long time ago. Now, it's simply impossible to find. Mo Shah looked at Sima Yue and Little Spirit who were muttering at the side. He frowned and said, hurry up and make a decision. All right then. Sima Yue hugged Little Spirit and rubbed him twice before saying, then we'll do as you say, deal? All right. Just as he finished speaking, Mo Shah instantly floated in front of Sima Yue. Taking advantage of her unpreparedness, he planted a kiss on her lips. What are you doing? Although there was no physical contact, Sima Yue still took a step back and glared at Mo Shah. Making a promise, Mo Shah said, it's a method unique to the demon race. Then you don't have to be like this. Sima Yue said with a black face. I'm just a spirit right now. That's all I can do. Mo Shah said. Sima Yue couldn't vent her anger. She could only forcefully wipe her lips. Because of this, her lips became even more red and attractive. What about the Imperial Beast Art you were talking about? She glared daggers at Mo Shah and asked. Mo Shah glanced at her red lips and flashed into the spirit, saying, place the spirit stone on your forehead. Sima Yue did as he said. The moment the spirit stone touched her forehead, she felt as if something had drilled into her brain, causing her head to hurt. It took her a long time to recover. You bastard, you definitely did it on purpose. She held her forehead and said, Master, quickly take a look at that Imperial Beast Art. Little Spirit said. Okay. Sima Yue closed her eyes. She only felt that her brain suddenly had a lot of information that she didn't have before. It was as if there was a book in her sea of consciousness. On it, the 3 words Imperial Beast Art were shining in golden light. She sorted out the information and found that this thing was indeed quite awesome. The most amazing thing was that the spirit beasts that were tamed using the Imperial Beast Art and contracted with their master would both increase their strength. Furthermore, when the master advanced in rank, the spirit beast would also advance in rank. Damn, it can actually advance in rank. I've never heard of this before. Sima Yue exclaimed after reading it. This Imperial Beast Art was very simple. It was the same for any spirit beast. However, because taming a spirit beast required a large amount of spiritual energy, she had to increase her spiritual energy to be able to tame higher-ranked spirit beasts. With this thing, I'll go and catch a spirit beast to try next time. Sima Yue said happily. Don't forget our promise. Mo Shah said from the spirit stone. Got it. Sima Yue curled her lips and said, You even have this kind of ancient item and can live in this small stone for so many years. You must have been a very powerful person when you were alive. Why don't you tell me your identity so that I can follow your identity to find him? When I meet him, I'll naturally sense it. When the time comes, I'll naturally tell you." After speaking, he didn't say anything else, and the spirit stone also stopped emitting a dim light. Sima Yue threw the spirit stone to Little Spirit and said, "Help me keep it." Chapter 51. Little Spirit, I remember you once said that you had a master who was a pill master, right? Sima Yue asked as she hugged Little Spirit. "That's right, a long time ago." "Why?" Little Spirit asked. "I want to learn how to refine pills." "Do you know where the books on refining pills are?" Sima Yue asked. "You want to learn how to refine pills? Then won't I have a lot of pills to eat in the future?" Little Spirit's eyes lit up when he heard Sima Yue's words. "You like to eat pills?" Sima Yue asked. "That's right." Little Spirit nodded and said, "The pills left behind by the previous master have all been eaten by me. That's why there aren't any pills in the Spirit Pearl." Sima Yue was still puzzled. Since the previous master was a pill master, why was there not a single pill in the Spirit Pearl? So it turned out that this guy had eaten all of them. "Master, I'll bring you to find the books," Little Spirit said as he pulled Sima Yue and disappeared from the spot. In the blink of an eye, they appeared in a room. "Master, here are all books on refining pills. They were all collected by the previous master. I once heard him say that many of these books were from ancient times. There are also many lost pill recipes," Little Spirit said as he pointed to the books in the room. Sima Yue looked at the books in the room. It was filled to the brim with books. Even if it wasn't 10,000 books, there were at least 1,000 books. There are so many books. Do you know which ones are for beginners? Sima Yue asked. Little Spirit shook his head. He had never read these books before, so how would he know? All right. Little Spirit thought of something and suddenly disappeared from the room. When he reappeared, there was a pill furnace in his hand. "Master, this is the pill furnace left behind by the previous master. After you read the books, you can use this pill furnace to refine pills. If you need any medicinal ingredients, you can find them outside. The previous master collected many types of medicinal ingredients, and I have kept them all." It was the first time that Little Spirit was so passionate towards her. Sima Yue's mouth twitched. This guy seemed to have a special love for pills. Looking at the bookshelves in the room, she decided to find some books for beginners first. Hence, she read through all the books in the room and took out all the books suitable for beginners, then took a table and started reading. But it was these 3 steps that stumped tens of thousands of spirit masters. Refining was to extract the essence of all the medicinal herbs. To do this, one must be careful and patient. This step seemed simple, but every kind of medicinal pill had its own fusion sequence. When to fuse what medicinal herbs were fused, this was all very particular. It wasn't as simple as pouring all the essences together. Moreover, if he didn't control it well, it was very likely that the furnace would explode. Not only would the medicinal herbs be wasted, the alchemist might also be in danger. If the first 2 steps were successful, but if he couldn't form his core, then the most he could make would be a medicine. Although medicine also had an effect, compared to medicinal pills, the effect was 1,000 times worse. Forming the core was to wait for all the essences to fuse. Then, one had to channel their spiritual power into the pill furnace and condense the medicine into a pill. This step tested one's spiritual power. If one did not control it well, all their previous efforts would be wasted. Although pill refining seemed simple, there were very few people who could become pill masters. There were 2 important factors in pill refining: pill furnace and fire. Pill furnaces were easy to use. The better the pill furnace, the higher the success rate of pill refining. As for fire, there were several types. The fire of firewood, the life flame of spirit beasts, strange fire, and spirit fire. The first type was needless to say. The second type was the life flame of spirit beasts. When refining pills, the spirit beast would assist. Because of the contract, the master could quickly order the spirit beast to control the size of the flame. If it was a life contract, the master could even directly control the spirit beast's life flame. This was the flame that most pill masters used. However, this flame's level was not high, and the contracted spirit beast had to be a fire attribute spirit beast. The third type of flame was strange fire. This type of flame was born from heaven and earth and had spirituality. If one could subdue it, the success rate of pill refining would greatly increase. However, subduing this type of strange fire was very difficult. This was because one had to absorb the strange fire into one's body and refine it. If one was not careful, one would be devoured by the strange fire and be burned to death. There was not much information about the fourth type of flame. Perhaps it was because this type of flame was too mysterious. After Sima Yue finished reading the steps of pill refining, she realized that this was really a work of endurance. Fortunately, although she lacked money and men in her previous life, she never lacked patience. Thus, she began to learn the first step of pill refining. She memorized the method and steps described in the book in her heart. Then, she eagerly ran to the medicinal field to find a few medicinal herbs. When she arrived at the pill refining room, she took out the pill furnace that little spirit had found before and began to practice in seclusion. After 2 days, Sima Yue went out to dig for herbs. Other than that, she spent the rest of her time in the pill refining room. For a moment, the room was filled with sounds of banging and banging. The spirit beasts and the spirit pearl all ran outside the pill refining room and waited. "Master, can you refine pills?" Yaguang looked at the pill refining room and asked. "Of course." Little Roar, who was rolling on Yaguang's body, heard Yaguang's question and said with certainty, "Little Yu is so smart, she will definitely be able to refine them." Ling Long's body floated in the air with her legs crossed and her hands behind her head as if she was sleeping on a bed. "You must succeed. Then I will have a lot of sweet dodo to eat." Little Spirit said, "Sweet dodo, it's pills. I used to call them sweet dodo." Little Spirit said, "Hung." Just as Little Spirit and the others were talking, an explosion came from the pill refining room. They were so scared that they quickly ran in to take a look. "Yi, are you all right?" Little Roar took the lead to enter and saw that the room was filled with smoke. Sima Yue's figure was faintly discernible in the smoke. "Master, what happened?" Yaguang and the others also rushed in and saw the residue at the door and asked. The smoke in the room slowly dispersed, revealing a messy room. Not only on the table, the floor, even the walls were filled with medicinal dregs that were scattered everywhere due to the explosion. Sima Yue stood in the middle of the room. In the instant of the explosion, she protected her face, but her hair was blown up into an afro and her clothes were torn into rags. Ayo, I'm so sad." Little Spirit looked at the scene in the room and shouted. "What happened, Little Spirit?" The others looked at Little Spirit in puzzlement. Other people would only explode when they were fusing the ingredients. However, Master's furnace exploded when she was refining the herbs. This means that she is not a pill material. "My sweet dodo is gone. I'm so sad," Little Spirit said dejectedly. Chapter 52. Hearing Little Spirit's painful wail, she rolled her eyes at him and said, "Who told me that the furnace exploded during the refining process?" Little Spirit caught the meaning behind Sima Yue's words and immediately flashed in front of her. His eyes lit up as he looked at her in disbelief and asked, "If the furnace didn't explode during the refining process, then could it be that you were fusing the ingredients?" "That's right." Sima Yue wiped her face and smeared the only clean part of her face. "How is that possible? You've only studied the refining process for a few days. How did you advance to the next step?" Little Spirit said, "I heard from the previous alchemist master that an average person can master the steps of refining within a month. Being able to enter the beginner's realm is already not bad. At that time, his innate talent was extremely good, but still took him 20 days to master the refining method. In such a short time, how could you? Others take that long?" Sima Yue was slightly surprised. Refining the ingredients is very simple. I only used 2 days to master it. 2 days? The beasts in the house all cried out in surprise. 2 days to master it. Thinking about how Little Spirit said that others would need a month, a few pairs of eyes looked at her as if they were looking at a monster. That's right. On the second day after I entered, I had already refined the first bottle of essence. After that, I spent the rest of the time repeatedly practicing. Sima Yue shrugged her shoulders and said, "After that, when I was studying the pill formula, I realized that the ingredients that I had refined before could be used to refine a type of pill. So I wanted to try it out. Everything was fine before, but when I was refining the last two ingredients, the furnace exploded. At this moment, Little Spirit was so excited that he couldn't speak. Only by fiercely hugging Sima Yue's shoulders could he express his excitement. After a long time, he said, "I thought that you were trash in refining pills. So you're actually a genius." "No, you're a genius, ha ha ha. This way, I'll have candy to eat in the future. This is great." Sima Yue's mouth twitched. Did this guy think that she was a candy production machine? "All right, let's go down first. I'll clean this place up and take a shower. Then, I'll come back to investigate why the furnace exploded." Sima Yue said, No need. I'll clean up here." Little Spirit said with a flattering smile, "You just have to take a bath and think about the reason for the explosion." Of course, she was happy that someone was willing to help her. Thus, she asked him to get her a bathtub and happily took a bath. What went wrong? In the bathroom prepared by Little Spirit, Sima Yue was soaking in the bathtub. She leaned her head against the edge of the bathtub and looked at the ceiling. Her steps were definitely correct, and the order of putting the essence of the herbs was also correct. She was very sure of these 2 points, so the problem definitely did not lie in these 2 places. If that's the case, then it should be about the purity of the medicinal herbs and the control of the furnace's temperature. Sima Yue murmured, "It seems that I have to strengthen the practice of refining and control the temperature of each step of refining pills." After taking a bath, Sima Yue went to the pill refining room again. Seeing that the room had been cleaned up, she sighed at Little Spirit's quick actions. However, she forgot that this place was originally inside the Spirit Pearl. Little Spirit only needed to use his brain, and this place would be restored to its original state. This time, she did not start immediately. Instead, she took out a pill refining book and read it. She repeatedly compared her refining steps to see if she had any shortcomings. After confirming that there were no problems, she began to refine the medicinal herbs. When she slowly calmed down, she found that the purity of her refining had increased by a lot. "Master, there's movement outside." Little Spirit suddenly appeared and said to Sima Yue, "Is grandfather coming out of seclusion?" Sima Yue asked. In order to prevent anything from happening, she asked Little Spirit to pay attention to the movements outside when she was studying pill refining again. "It should be," Little Spirit said. "I feel that the spirit chi outside is a little abnormal. It feels like someone is advancing in rank." When Sima Yue heard this, she put down the half-refined medicinal herbs in her hands, and with a thought, she went outside. She opened the door and saw her 2 servant girls guarding outside her door. She asked, "Why are you 2 here?" In reply to young master, "We thought that since you haven't come out for so many days, you might be cultivating inside. In order to not let anyone disturb you, we waited here." Sima Yue did not expect that they would still be so dutiful, even though her predecessor had treated them so badly. She said, "Okay, I'm out now. You can all go and rest." After speaking, she went to Sima Lai's study room and found the entrance to the tunnel. She slowly groped her way down. When she reached the outside of the secret room, Sima Yue did not continue, but stood guard here. Ever since her body was transformed by Qi Yin, she was much more sensitive to the spirit Qi in the air. Perhaps the people outside did not notice the changes in the spirit Qi in the air, but she could feel the endless fire spirit Qi gathering in the secret room. After half an hour, Sima Yue felt the flow of spirit Qi slowing down. She knew that her advancement had ended. Sure enough, very quickly, the door of the secret room slowly retreated into the walls on both sides. Sima Lai walked out from inside. "Grandfather!" Sima Yue went up to him and said with a smile, Congratulations, grandfather, for advancing to another level. Haha, this is all thanks to those 2 pills of yours. Sima Lai did not expect Sima Yue to be waiting for him here. He was stunned for a moment before he laughed loudly. How did you know that I was coming out? I felt the spirit chi in the air and guessed that grandfather had advanced successfully. That's why I came to pick grandfather up. Sima Yue said with a smile. You can feel the spirit chi when I advanced? Sima Lai was a little surprised. If others could feel it too, then wouldn't it be impossible for him to hide the fact that he had advanced? Grandfather, don't worry. No one else could feel it. Sima Yue said, before I came in, I asked Little Roar to set up a barrier. No one else could feel it. Little Roar? It's me, grandfather. Little Roar came down from the secret passage and floated in front of Sima Lai with an expression that said, hurry up and praise me. Sima Lai was shocked. What kind of spirit beast was this? Not only could it speak, it could also set up a barrier. Previously, when he saw Sima Yue hugging it, he thought that it was a spirit pet that she had bought outside. Although Little Roar doesn't have any fighting ability now, he can still set up a barrier. Sima Yue said, so grandfather, you don't have to worry. She had asked Little Roar to set up a barrier around the study room after she entered the secret passage so that no one outside could feel the changes in the general's residence. Before this, she had thought it through. It was better to pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger than to show off. Just like herself in the 21st century, if she was not too powerful in the organization, she would not have been harmed by the second in command. All right, grandfather, let's go out now. I think that brother and the others will be happy to know that you have advanced. Sima Yue held on to Sima Lai's arm, and the 2 of them walked out of the secret passage. Chapter 53. At night, Sima Yue was so happy that she cooked a table full of dishes for everyone. When she came out of the kitchen, she saw the 4 of them sitting at the table looking at her in shock. She was stunned for a moment before she realized that she was too happy and had forgotten that the original owner of this body did not know how to cook. The last time she said that she would teach a chef how to cook, they thought that she only knew the theory from hearsay. This time, she was the one who personally took the knife and spatula. 5th bro, when did you learn how to cook? Sima Yue was the first to ask. Sima Yue went to her seat and sat down, saying, didn't I live in Luo mountain range for a few months? At that time, I could only cook by myself, so I learned how to cook. Hearing Sima Yue say this, everyone looked at her with heartache. They thought that she must have suffered a lot in Luo mountain range to be able to learn such a complicated thing like cooking. Sima Yue saw everyone's expression and felt a little guilty. She only wanted to gloss over the fact that she knew how to cook, but she did not think that she would cause them to feel heartache. She smiled and said, all right, let's eat quickly. It won't taste good when it gets cold. And man, let's eat. Let's try 5th bro's cooking. Oh, it's so delicious. Come, let's toast to grandfather. Congratulations on his advancement. Haha, this is all thanks to the advancement pill that you brought back. When they talked about Sima Lai's advancement, everyone was in high spirits. They ate and drank until late at night. Grandfather, I want to go to the academy tomorrow. After dinner, Sima Yue said, you can decide on your own matters. Sima Lai patted Sima Yue's head. When you go to the academy, do you want to find the person who harmed you to take revenge? Sima Yue nodded and said, I'm not the kind of person who will ask you if your hand hurts after you slap me. If you want to harm me, you must be prepared to receive my revenge. Haha, no matter what you want to do, grandfather will support you. If you need anything from grandfather and your brothers, just say the word. Sima Lai said, I will. Sima Yue said with a smile. She looked in the direction of the academy with a devilish smile on her lips. She wondered how those people who thought she was dead would react when they saw her. After returning to her courtyard, Sima Yue shut herself in her room to cultivate. Although she really wanted to refine pills, she also knew that more haste, less speed. She didn't have enough practice in refining medicinal herbs. If she rashly tried to fuse them, she would only end up with the same fate as last time. Even if she managed to refine a potion or pill, the effect wouldn't be very good. Furthermore, the most important thing for her right now was to cultivate. Little Roar had said that she might be able to recover her memories when she reached the divine rank. She had only just become a spirit master, so she didn't know how long it would take for her to reach the divine rank. She had to make good use of her time. In the first month after Sima Yoyue's disappearance, everyone in the Capital Institute was still discussing the matter. They were guessing when the general's residence would come looking for trouble with the Institute. But he didn't expect that not even a shadow of a person had come to the general's residence. More than a month later, everyone gradually lost interest in this matter. Very few people still remembered that trash. On this day, after the morning class, everyone ate lunch and went back to their own homes. Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi returned. When they saw that the door was unlocked, they thought that Ouyang Fei or Bei Gongtang had returned first. These two fellows, they ran away after class. I didn't see them in the canteen just now, so they rushed back. Fatty Chu said, "Yeah, ever since we ate the food that you cooked for us, we feel that the food in the canteen is disgusting." Wei Ziqi's face darkened when he mentioned Sima Yue. Yueshi. Fatty Chu's voice was a little hoarse. If there was anyone in the institute who would still talk about Sima Yue, it would probably only be the two of them. "What are you guys standing at the door for?" Bei Gongtang's cold voice came from behind them, interrupting their grief. Wei Ziqi turned around and looked at Bei Gongtang, saying, "You didn't go in? We thought that you had already gone back." "No, I went to the library." Bei Gongtang took 2 steps forward and looked at the two of them suspiciously. Then, she pushed the door open and went in. When will this Bei Gongtang learn to smile? Every time I see her, she's always so cold. Fatty Chu sighed. Yeah, she'll definitely be beautiful when she smiles. Wei Ziqi said, "Are you guys here as door gods?" Ouyang Fei walked over from behind. Seeing that the two of them were standing at the door and not going in, he said something and entered the courtyard. After living here for a period of time, although they still didn't like to talk, they weren't as cold as when they first met. Sighed, this fellow really... Fatty Chu was halfway through his sentence when he suddenly turned around to look at Wei Ziqi. He saw that his eyes were also filled with shock. The two of them came back first and thought that the door to the courtyard was opened by Bei Gongtang and Ouyang Fei. However, looking at it now, the two of them came back after them. Then, the only one who could use the key to open the door was Sima Yue. That meant that she came back. The two of them hurriedly entered the courtyard. The moment they entered, they saw Ouyang Fei standing in the courtyard and Bei Gongtang standing in front of Sima Yue's door. The door that had always been tightly shut was actually open today. They saw Sima Yue poke her head out of the house and smiled at the four of them. "You're all back. I'm just cleaning the house. No one has lived here for so long, so there's a thick layer of dust." Fatty Chu pointed at Sima Yue and couldn't say a complete sentence. "Yu, when did you come back?" Sima Yue poked her entire body out and giggled. "I just came back." "Fatty Chu, you don't have classes in the afternoon, right? Come and help me clean up the house." After that, she looked at Bei Gongtang and the other two and said, "This house is too dirty. Moreover, it seems like it was smashed by someone. It's very messy. Why don't you guys come over and sit after I'm done cleaning up?" The four of them finally reacted. Wei Ziqi rolled up his sleeves and walked over, saying, "Since it's very messy, let's all help out." "Yes, I'll help too," Fatty Chu said as he walked over. Sima Yue saw that Wei Ziqi had taken the initiative to help and smiled. "All right, with your help, we can finish cleaning up even faster." However, what made her more surprised was that Ouyang Fei and Bei Gongtang had also come in to help. Although the two of them still had cold faces, she thought that the two of them had facial paralysis, so she was very surprised that they had come to help. "You really look like someone had barged in," Fatty Chu said as he looked at the messy house. The five of them cleaned up together, and very quickly, the house was tidied up. After that, Fatty Chu and Wei Ziqi sat together. Ouyang Fei leaned on the table, and Bei Gongtang leaned against the door. The four of them looked at her together. "You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.